bottom it up, don't ever rise is bearish.
Bearish positive 1300.
Novo grazie is bullish.
Bitcoin could be at 40,000.
Let us go to moon. Bitcoin, please go to moon. Stop going sideways now. Don't ever say we going down to 1K, but Mr. Novo grazie, we have bottom it out. Bottom it out, Novo grazie is bullish. Bottom it up, don't ever rise is bearish.
Bearish positive 1300.
Novo grazie is bullish.
Bitcoin could be at 40,000.
Let us go to moon. Bitcoin, please go to moon. Stop going sideways now. Don't ever say we going down to 1K, but Mr. Novo grazie, we have bottom it out. Bottom it out. Novo
Right, hello everybody.
bottom
Are we all there? I thought, let's go live. It's Jerome Powell's last day at work, so it's not going to be. I mean, how long is it going to be? We're going to be on for a couple of hours today. It's going to be a fun stream. I'm going to turn off the music there, and we're going to get down to business. So, I mean, it's been a while as well, so I need to probably wait an hour or two for anybody to join the chat. And I also need to see if anybody is here. I also need to check if the stream's working and how everything's running, because who knows? Oh, please don't just be the most skippy, just craps. Oh, fuck. Yeah, it's doing the thing it used to do. Great. It's not running smooth. Is it running smooth for you there? No. But how about if I run it like that? And then also, let's try going over to that one. Right. So, how does that work? It used to work okay when I put me in the bottom corner. It's understanding what YouTube is going to allow here while we're running off of my old computer for the final time as well. It might be Jerome Powell's last day at work, but it's also the computer that has made for the skippy streams over the course of the past couple of years, last day at work as well. It's been a long time in service as that computer, and it is finally time for it to retire. Wow. It's just woken up. There's now 83 people here. This is good news. The bad news is that I think the stream's still lagging, which is bad news and very frustrating. And if we can't get this fixed, this could be a terminal issue. How do we fix the stream? I think you want me to get rid of all the tabs. I don't want to do that, but I just did. All of that hard work that you put in this morning is now gone. It's smooth. Yeah. Did that fix it? Was the problem the fact that we had 3,000 YouTube, Google tabs open? Perhaps. It does look like it's... Has it fixed it? Yes. It's running smoothly. Guys, we've done it. We've fixed it. Next question, because, again, it's me. So, we're not... Come here. Right, I want you to introduce everybody to somebody. And we're going to see if it... Oh, look, it's going skippy again. It's going skippy again. Oh, you can barely see him. Let's go back over to here, and let's go over to here. Yes, you can barely see him. This man is going to fix the stream at some point, and we're going back to full-time business. We're going back to streaming every day. I understand everything might not work to currently, but we spent $5,000 on a computer. It arrived today. We didn't have time because we posted the video earlier, and we didn't make it to get to the computer shop in time. So instead, and also it was my executive decision there saying, well, we couldn't make it to the computer shop, set up the computer, set up all of the things that we need for streaming, and post a video. So yes, you need to change the video resolution. Is it because we're streaming in 4K?
Yeah, we're streaming in 4K.
Oh,
1080.
right. So how do we switch that? We need to output, change the output. ChatGPT. No, it's not recording. It's only streaming. Streaming is output. ChatGPT, how do we change the stream output from 4K to 1080p? The rescaled output should already be coming through in 1080p. So I have no idea. The only thing I can think to do is switch it from 10,000 kilobytes a second to 5,000, and perhaps that will reduce the quality of the stream slightly. In favor of, I mean, on my computer it runs fine. That's the frustrating thing. However, we'll go back over to the chart here because we are talking about the price of Bitcoin today. We do have quite a big warm-up session on because, I mean, we've got 11 minutes until the news comes out and the price goes scatty. And then we've got another, it's 40 minutes from now until Jerome Powell starts speaking. So we do have some time to address the problems with the stream. However, and I know the audio comes through completely fine. Sadly missing the stream in work. 5K and it doesn't. No, Dave, you've missed the point. I've bought a new computer. I've also bought a man from Nigeria who has come to fix all of my problems with the stream. What is your solution?
So it says you launch OBS, click on settings, bottom right corner, and you see
base canvas resolution.
Yeah.
Right. Then what?
You go to video.
Video.
Yeah. Shit, we have to go off live.
As in because you can only change. Oh, I fixed it. We might have fixed it.
Yeah.
We might have fixed it. You might be able to hear me again. It should be fixed in the chat. Please don't leave. Always off to a rocky start. Oh yes, it's done. It works. We fixed it. Yes. Perfect. Right. So I'm going to be sat now with, I've never done this before where I've sat with a man on my shoulder and he's he's decided to just perch just there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting stream today anyway, but I'm very happy we fixed that. And also the only thing I need to now get is access to the chat on my computer because I don't have access to the chat on my computer, but I'm pretty sure we can get access to the chat on my computer. Bosh, it's there. Everything is working. All good. Just keep your chops close to your microphone. Fantastic. Right, so you're now saying that the audio is the problem, which means I can actually fix that and know exactly the problem and how, because it's been a long time since we've turned on a stream, so just give me a second. There isn't any way to test this without being live, and it's way easier to do a live test with 50 people than it is to do it on your own in private. So, advanced audio properties. And then we need to increase the decibels by probably 15 decibels. Oh, no, that's too loud. Let's do 7. Let's increase it by 7 decibels. There we go. Oh, it's still a bit loud. Still a bit loud. Let's go by 4 decibel increase. 4 decibels. Right. Boosh. Right. Perfect. So you should have the nice Yorkshire dulcet tones from myself coming through the microphone. The sound should be correct. The video should be nice and smoothly moving, and everything should be working. Fingers crossed. If it's not, please tell me in the chat. I have bought a Nigerian man. He is here with me now. We've been working together for the past few weeks, and actually, to be fair, he was the, what was it, 3rd or 4th hire from Crypto Saving Expert. But that's only because I hired my friends that I knew to start it, and then they hired him as the first kind of external hire. And he's worked for us for years. He's a very good quality person, and no, you're not allowed one for yourself. He belongs to me. So he's okay with me making jokes like this, by the way. I want to point out I'm not being an ass. We have a good enough relationship at this point.
He's not being racist. It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, and no racism here. So anyway, I've got a trade open, and oh, sorry, I should not clap. Not in front of the microphone. There was a delay on the audio for you. Okay, we can probably address the delay also. As in, is the audio synced up with the mouth or not?
You know the difference with camera and everything.
Yeah.
It's quite different.
Yeah, but we can add a delay to the audio in the actual settings. That I've seen a setting for that. So there is a thing here. Is it not something to do with the way that it does the output? Is it not in sync?
No, you have to delay the audio.
By how much do you reckon?
19
19 what?
milliseconds. No. So 19 is
Right, that's
190.
ChatGPT.
190.
Which buttons do I press? That's ChatGPT.
So, well, let me see some buttons there.
These
Yeah.
buttons.
So it has to go cancel.
Press cancel.
Yeah. So duration is negative 190.
Minus 190.
Yeah.
Minus 190. Yeah?
Yeah, I think that should be.
But is that not for the transitions?
That's transition.
Yeah, so I shouldn't be putting it in the delay in there.
Yeah.
I should be putting the delay in the audio. Delay.
No, that's
Mute delay. Audio capture delay. Yeah, that one. I should put that. You want 190 millisecond delay on that?
Yeah. Should work.
We'll see. Maybe I just fixed it. Maybe I ruined it. Either way, live testing with TMG 4 minutes before the news regarding the FOMC is dropping. And did it fix it? Did it fix the audio? Yeah? Fixed. Bosh. That is some... It's why you should all buy your own Nigerian. They do take a lot of training, but they are good quality. Right. Very good. Yeah. Wow. Very. Yeah, I know it's not very big compared to the positions that we used to open, is it? However, I have taken a sabbatical. We've been away for a while. I have been away. I've not been in England. But before the whole thing kicked off in Dubai, I had already left Dubai. You're saying it's worse. Someone's saying it's worse. It can't be worse, Dave. I have a man here that's telling me it's excellent, so it can't be worse. No longer in sync. Audio is in sync.
You need to delay it more.
Delay it more.
I think it might be like 250.
You think it might be 250? Okay, we'll try a bit more. We will try and delay the audio even more. Again, this is pure guesswork. 2 minutes, 250 milliseconds will be a 2.5 second delay on the time, yeah?
It's not worse. It's better. It's not worse. It just needs a little bit more.
All right, so I've increased the audio delay. We need to get it sorted for when Jerome Powell's going live. Like, that's number one priority. We need the audio to be synced. And although the audio might be fine, and it coming through okay now, and the visuals as well, they're coming through good, and that's nice. We just need to align the audio. I don't know what 250 milliseconds is. It doesn't even make sense because it's 60 seconds in a minute. How many milliseconds is there in a second? I think there's 100 milliseconds in a second. So where's the sense in that? What? So if it's a 250 millisecond delay, it's there.
OBS. Cool.
If it's a 250 millisecond delay, then that would be, and it's 60 milliseconds in a second. And that would be quite a long delay, but I don't think it is. I think it's 100 milliseconds. So even worse delay now, right? So I think we're delaying it too much. It's down there. Oh, that's Mac OS audio capture. You might want to do audio input capture, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's that one.
And that's push to mute delay, not that. That's not.
Push to talk delay.
No, that's push to mute.
Oh, just set that back to 0 then.
Yeah, that's the wrong one. Yeah, that's the wrong one.
Right, in the meantime, Bitcoin's price, I'll get on with doing that while he's figuring out what to do with this. Bitcoin's price is currently $76,000. Today is the day where Jerome Powell, in about 1 minute's time, is going to make his final announcement as to whether the prices are going to go up or down. Because for years, he's been making these announcements and keeping us with a warm glow in our hearts in an evening every time we all get together on a Wednesday and watch ourselves lose some money. It's one of my favorite times, and it has been for years, and I will miss Jerome Powell very dearly. And this right now, in the next 1 minute candle, is when we'll get to watch it move for the final times under Jerome Powell. Then we're going to get Kevin Walsh. Who knows what's going to happen with Kevin Walsh? Nobody knows what's going to happen with Kevin Walsh. Current expectations of Kevin Walsh are that he is going to print loads of cash. The news has just dropped, and I imagine looking at that, it is as expected. There is no rate change. We weren't really expecting a rate change today. It's really more about the rhetoric with regards to how does Jerome Powell exit. That's what I'm interested to see. I want to know what his parting words are. I think that it's going to be a very spicy speech today, which is why I'm streaming at 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, I moved to Thailand. I live in Thailand now with a pet Nigerian. And don't like that one. No, don't like that one. That one's not allowed. He's not my pet. No, because I pay him.
That's not fixing it. We'll fix
There's
it
no
up.
fixing it.
Yeah, we'll fix it later.
That means we won't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
There we
fix the
go.
screen, then we'll fix it.
His solution is we don't fix it. But either way, I live here now in Thailand, and we're streaming at 1 o'clock in the morning because the news is going to be a big one today. And maybe press the Nigerian. See if I could try that. Don't know if that's gonna work. Bro, you're baiting people to comment. I mean, somebody has to make somebody comment. None of you press the comment button anymore. I mean, yeah, thank you. I actually really appreciate the amount of you that pressed the like button on today's video. If you've not already seen today's video, apparently it was an excellent video. It's been performing incredibly well all day. And I want to show you the difference that it makes when you press the like button on one of my videos. That's the difference. Look at the difference. Look, you can see there the normal curve, the normal, what it would do. This is the normal. The gray area on my second channel is the normal area. It is straight lining it to the moon. This is what happens when you press the like button. Is why it's very important that you press the like button on my videos, because when it straight lines it like that, that's good for me. And it's also good for you because it means the crypto industry is growing. And if the industry is growing and we're having more people watch our content, it means it's more likely that Bitcoin goes up. Don't forget, this is the world's #1 scheme. Where you get your friends to buy it, and then you get your friends' friends to buy it, and then you all slowly convince each other to pile in all your wealth. But it actually works. It is a good system, and I've been doing it for years. I joke, of course, with some of the language that I'm using here, but it matters. It really does matter that you press the thing. And also, look, they point out, look, 6,000 impression, 11.6% click-through. This is amazing. So it's like the thumbnail we know is correct. We know that all of the data here is correct. But yeah, I don't want to go too much in detail as to with regards to our strategy as to an approach to YouTube. But what I want to say is when you engage, especially when you comment, and especially if you share our videos on WhatsApp and on Facebook, it is very, very good. Do that. It is so useful. Even if you don't have any friends on Facebook and you just post my videos on there just to help me out, I really appreciate that. And if you leave comments in the comment section telling me that you're doing these things, I will respond. Anyway, back to the price of Bitcoin. Nothing we're going to expect to happen really between now and 27 minutes time. So you're going to get a fair bit of waffle from me in the meantime. But it's a pleasure to have everyone back on this. The 250 milliseconds is a quarter of a second. Okay, so there's 1,000 milliseconds in a second. Okay. So why isn't there 6,000? So someone can. I could probably do that. Put what on my screen?
The link I just sent you.
The link you just sent me.
Telegram.
Oh, crud, is it something? Oh, I remember. We don't. Yeah. Did it give up again? Please don't tell me you've just crapped out. Yeah. Oh no. There we're back. Right. So you said put the link that you just sent me on the screen. Okay. Why?
It's Forex Factory. So it shows you the rate.
All right. Yeah. So bosh. So here we go. So Federal Reserve issues the FOMC statement. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a solid pace. Job gains have remained low on average, and the unemployment. Can you tweet out a screenshot of the top of this website? It's quite good, like just about where it says like the volatility now section. That'd make quite a good tweet. But the unemployment rate has been little changed in recent months. Inflation is elevated in part reflecting the recent increase in global energy prices. The committee seeks to achieve maximum employment, and I mean that's the whole statement. More hawkish than expected is good for currency. I don't know what he's on about there. Either way, I think it came in pretty neutral. Oh, that just took me lower on the page. So the ... and what? Where's the rest of the statement? Well, it's bloody useful, isn't it? That I suppose it's just hyperlinking in this whole piece of text. So there we go. I've got the whole piece of text up now. I am no longer making mistakes. It's been a while, guys. It's been a while, and it is also 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's a busy time because I'm trying to make everything work again. Check your ping to YouTube. Maybe this is a little laggy and sometimes go offline. It's not that. It's that when I run BYBIT on my computer at the same time as streaming, as my editor likes to remind me very often, my chip in my computer is an M1 Ultra chip. So despite the fact that I paid £7,000 for the computer that I'm streaming off right now, and I only bought it in late 2022, early 2023, so it's only less than 3 years old, basically just 3-year-old computer. It can't stream anymore. It has become that far out of date in just 3 years. It's basically become obsolete technology. That is how, like, the cost of being a streamer is rising because I had to go out and buy another computer, and we bought a Windows computer this time so that when we need to buy another chip, we can just pull the old chip out and put a new one in, because this whole buying a new Mac every 3 years for £7,000 to £10,000 seems questionable. Anyway, click the next link. I will do in a second. Oh, no, that's the M1 Ultra. Okay, yeah, there we go. Right, so how much is the maxed out M1 Ultra? And the maxed out M1 Ultra is roughly $7,999, but they're all worth nothing. Don't buy a Mac with an M1 Ultra chip in it. It will not be that useful. Anyway, you need the new chip to get is the M5 Pro if you're going to get a Mac. But the thing that we've all got to contend with right now is, and it's quite bad. You know, this is what I was probably streaming in Dubai in 4K the whole time, and that's why nothing worked. Yeah. That is so dumb. So every stream that I ran last year, I ran it in the wrong mode. A whole year of why isn't this working could have been solved by having him at my house. Problem being, his country is full of scammers, and so they don't let them out. And so it's been an absolute nightmare trying to get him out of Nigeria so that we can meet. I've known this guy for 5 to 6 years now, and I met him for the first time a week and a half ago. It's crazy. Oh, the market's dumping. Oh, I can't load that chart. Ignore that chart. It will make everything stop working again. Instead, we'll go over to the 1 minute Bitcoin chart, which we've not been on in ages. And it's a pleasure to be back on the 1 minute chart, everybody. I hope you like being on the 1 minute chart. It is, of course, the best chart, and I would recommend everybody only specifically trade 1 minute timeframes. Notoriously the best idea that you could possibly make. Anyway, let's read some comments from the chat here. So, I reckon JP is going to literally drop the mic as he walks off stage today. I kind of hope he does. I think it would be quite fun if Jerome Powell was, mic dropping some facts and truth bombs on Trump. 75,400. We are rocketing down right now. This is quite fun. I like it. This is like the good old days. rather the bad old days, really, to be honest, because the good old days is when the prices was pumping and we was making streams in Dubai and talking about how exciting Bitcoin was to go. What's this poll that you're bringing up on your? Use your words.
Fully market.
You fine to interrupt me. It's okay. You're part of the stream. You're sat in the same room as me. You're part of the stream. You can say things. You send me another.
Chances of things to happen with Jerome Powell.
Okay, so my editor has just sent me this link live. What will Powell say during April press conference? Inflation 40 plus times, 78%. We could play some of these. We could. Shall I load up some pony? I don't know. I don't do this stuff. I'm not generally a gambler. But it's not really gambling, is it? You could, a 78% chance, it's a pretty much freebie that you're going to get that. Somebody has looked at the odds on this already, surely. The word job 15 plus times, absolutely. You should be buying that one. The word balance sheet, 100%. That is yes. He will say the Fed balance sheet at some point. So that's a guarantee. Successor, he'll say integrity. You basically just need to go through this whole list here and bet yes. It's free money, is that? He's going to say most of these things. I would say that he wouldn't probably say Kevin Walsh because I don't know if it's 100% confirmed yet. But this is all free money, guys. If you've got like 10k spare, I'd split it. A 1k bet on each one of these. Split it, do an index fund over the span of this meeting and try and double it. Oh, by the way, guys, the market is still dumping. It's now down at $75,200, bouncing slightly back to the upside, but not looking great. Anyway, back to the chat here. Here we go. When you trade, it lags your PC big time, especially if you have many exchanges open. Yeah, it does. Which is why I've not got the exchange open on my screen, because that's one of the reasons why it wasn't running correctly. I mean, I know that I'm in a profit here. I'm now $408 in a profit on this trade. Look, it's a pittance trade. It's for fun. It's to go and buy lunch for my girlfriend when we go out for lunch tomorrow, or maybe take him with us. As like a pet or a third wheel. He says I'm weird all the time. I am weird. It's what happens when you make a lot of money when you're in your early 20s. It makes you a bit strange.
He's very entertaining during the day.
Yeah, I'm entertaining during the day. I act as his see, I'm his jester. He's my pet, and I'm his jester. He just sits around and laughs at me. But I'm also very normal is something that he has observed, like incredibly normal. I probably couldn't get much more normal. What did I have for breakfast this morning? I had a spam and egg sandwich. And I bought him some turkey spam because he's a Muslim, so he can't have the nice version of spam. Instead, he's got to have the crap version of spam. So I bought him some turkey spam. So I'm going to feed my Nigerian editor some turkey spam tomorrow and see what probably not tomorrow, to be fair. I had spam today. I don't need double spam on double on the bounce. I don't fancy that. That doesn't sound great. Does he have a personalized? No. He is human. He's a very nice human. I know that we're mostly white, but I'm also joking, but I don't know. Like, I suspect that most people watching these days understand my personality and my jokes quite well. Because I imagine that most people watching have been sticking it out for a while here. And basically, look, it's an echo chamber of us people that just won't leave until this number goes back up again. So I hope you all understand. I've seen his fridge. He eats like a true Brit. Yes, you have. And I got Greg's pasties in my fridge. Opened 2 shorts half an hour ago for once I got it right. Congratulations, Mr. Delta Original. How's your TDS? Seems intact. What does TDS mean? What does TDS mean? We have a rule in my business. I want to point out this rule. We're going to go full screen. We have a rule. It was a new rule, and it came in last week because I got pissed off. Don't use acronyms in my business. I don't understand them and I refuse to learn them. Stop with all this jargon nonsense and use the full words that you find in the dictionary like you're meant to. Please, stop abbreviating everything. It makes it more difficult for everybody to understand. It annoys me. Don't do that. You've been told off now. We reached the bottom of the boiling bands in the 4 hour. Congratulations, Val photographer. The Bollinger bands. I read that wrong. I apologize. And reached the support zone. I mean, in all likelihood, here we have probably bottomed for now, just on the basis of. Let me just show you this. So I'll remove the live chat off the screen there, so I can actually do a bit of analysis and show you what's going on. So, on the 15-minute chart here, heading into the Jerome Powell speech, which is starting in 16 minutes' time, so we don't have long to wait. By the way, guys, I've forgotten so far to ask, but I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like on the stream. It would mean a lot to me if you dropped a like on the stream. You don't know, I mean, you can see how much it impacts a video when you press like. This is a video that I posted earlier today, and I want to show you the statistics on it just so you can understand. So this video so far has achieved 99.1% likes. Basically, one asshole pressed the dislike button. To be honest, it doesn't matter, because when you press dislike, it is just as beneficial and it shows engagement. The point is, it's got 116 likes so far and 1,000 views. That's more than 10% of people watching the video pressed like. Show me another genre of YouTube with as strong a community as that dominating those numbers. The problem is, because my community is so strong, we get trapped. So YouTube comes to expect me to get 10% of people to like every single video. And when you guys are feeling miserable, you don't press the like button, and then that makes the market get worse. Understand how it works. Even if you press the dislike button, it's better than pressing nothing. Like the number one metric is watch time. So if you want to help me at the most, run it on 7 tabs in the background. Anyway, so I need some just a drink for a second. Again, we've got a while to go. So the only acceptable abbreviation is TMG. Yes, because it's the only abbreviation that, or is it abbreviation or acronym? I feel like that's an acronym, not an abbreviation. An abbreviation is when you shorten a word. An acronym is when you split a word into several different words. Or rather, as you shorten it, you take like the first thing. What's it?
I sent you something interesting right now. It's not news, but it's quite nice.
So my editor has just sent me this, and this is going to become a rolling thing, isn't it? If you're just going to sit here while I stream, and you're just going to fire things into the stream. Look, he's got his key, he's got his fingers on the pulse here. He's loving it. Just in, Meta launches crypto stablecoin payouts for creators. That's actually pretty sick. That's good. That's really good. But you know why they're doing it? The reason that they're doing that is because today I put all of my information into Meta so that I could claim my 25 pence of ad revenue, because I'm going to start making a bunch of shorts on Instagram. And the shorts that I'm making on Instagram, or the reels that I'm making on Instagram, they're actually really good. You should follow me. It's at the Martini Guy on Instagram. But make sure you give me a follow. Where's my phone? Which phone is it? Not that phone. That phone. So if I just bring up my Instagram here, just so you can all see it. My Instagram is amazing. It's the best Instagram on earth, and it looks like this. Yeah, but it's more accurate to bring it up on the phone for science. So that's my account, the Martini Guy. Give me a follow. I appreciate it. But we're back to business. We're back trying. You may as well tune back in and get this as part of your schedule again, because we're going to make money, and I'm going to be streaming it. And I want to point something out that I've just seen, which is this. Have you seen that? Bosh, bosh, bosh. We're coming down one more time. 74.4, break of the bottom, retest 73. That's, oh, you can't even see the screen. I used to do this all the time. There you go. What am I talking about? Look, you can see I just drew the line on the screen and pretended like you could see. You're going to come down. We're going to test 74.4, and then we're going to come down 74.3. That is my expectations for today. Before Jerome Powell starts speaking, or what I would expect is probably something like this. Maybe you get something like that, but ultimately probably a retest of the blue line up here, because it's Jerome Powell speaking. So it would be rude if we didn't at least do this for one more time. We need that. It's Jerome. We've got to support Jerome. He's retiring. He's going into a care home. It's a sad time in his life, because he is realizing he is reaching the end of it. And so we should support him in this depressing time. And also, more serious than all of that point, he has the worst boss on earth, because his boss isn't even his boss. His boss just hates him. And his boss is trying to sue him. He's not even his boss. He has no control over him at all. He's not his boss. But It's like me walking into like Meta offices and saying just because I use Instagram, I should be able to like give myself 1 billion followers and make myself #1 account. It doesn't. It's not work that way. Anyway, no caffeine, but I do need sugar at this time. Sure, there are healthier alternatives, but you can stick them up your ass.
Price of oil.
The price of oil is going up. It's 107. I shouldn't have closed my oil trade. Look at me. I would have made such a good trade there. It was so leveraged. It moved $2. I made $2,000 on a $250 account. I added more margin to it, but that was just in case it wobbled. But I was using $250 of my money, made $2,000 in a $2 move, and I closed it at 101. And now is 107, which would have meant I'd have turned a $2,000 account into a lot more money by now. What I do want to point out about oil is that oil, as likely as it is to rise, and I pointed this out in a video the other day, oil will probably rise. It'll probably get up to that level again. A couple different reasons. Thailand oil crisis starting to hit. Starting to see big queues at petrol stations in the countryside, not in Phuket, not in Bangkok, not in Samui. All the major tourist areas are completely fine, but in the countryside they don't have fuel anymore. The fuel in the countryside is gone at this point. So you have to fuel up between them. And when I was driving through Thailand countryside a couple of weeks ago, and there would be a queue of maybe 200, 300 cars on the side of the motorway waiting to go into a petrol station. The fuel crisis here is quite real. And so that's going to push up the price of it. But what's important to point out is Iran is running out of oil storage. So being that Iran is running out of oil storage, when that oil... what Iran will do one day, and it'll come in the next 2 weeks or so. So they've only got 10 more days which they can use to store oil. At that point, their oil storage capacity is full. You've got a couple different options. You either bomb the oil storage because it's full and you can just destroy so much money and the environment, but so much money. Or you're Iran and you just go, you know what, guys, chill out for a couple days or weeks. We'll open the strait, get some oil through. And I think this is the realistic solution, and I think it's probably what will end up happening, because ultimately I think it's a war that not even Iran want. Nobody actually wants this war. So I don't have a huge amount of confidence in it actually lasting for... I mean, I think it'll drag on, but I think it'll drag on in the sense of they will keep dragging it out, like escalating it, de-escalating it. And I think this is Trump's plan heading into the midterms. So heading into the midterms, I think that Trump's plan is to create this instability on Earth and then say, you need me and you need to give me full power. And I don't think it'll work for 1 second. I think it's the most brain-dead plan. But who am I? I'm not a political strategist. As everyone likes to tell me in the comment section all the time, stick to crypto, idiot. But no, I will just talk about what I want, and I'm not an idiot. I'm very wealthy. Is Iran's oil storage nearly full? And will it have to... that's a joke as well. This is where people don't understand. They think that I say stuff like that and I mean it. I am wealthy, but I say it as a joke because it's funny. Or at least I find it fun. This is the autism kicking in again. You can tell I'm really good at streaming. This is why in person people get sick of me sometimes. I'm really good at this. I can talk for England. I should be a prime minister or a politician at some point because I dominate the election. And when it comes to answering questions like a politician, I should be that guy. I should be I'd give you the most straight, blunt answer. And, well, at least you get the truth. Either way, Iran's oil storage capacity is nearly full. It will have to cut production, or will it have to cut production? Experts predict Iran could gradually scale back oil production if the US naval blockade of Hormuz persists. They have a big problem, which is if they don't reopen the strait soon and they don't have anywhere to store the oil, they have to cut the production. When you cut production at an oil facility, I used to work in this industry, so I know quite a lot about it. You do what's called a shutdown. Oh, that sounds pretty obvious. But a shutdown is like it's like a once in a 30-year event, and it's really expensive. So if you have to stop an oil well, it breaks basically the entire chain. So my job used to be selling control valves for oil rigs, which is essentially just big taps. What are you talking about?
Essentially the link for the valves.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So, oh, there we go. It's like a live feed of information that I can just talk about, and he's feeding it to me. I used to sell these things. So we used to go, we'd measure a pipeline, we'd look at the amount of oil flowing through a pipe, and then we'd design one of these things. These are called control valves. These are called cheap Chinese valves. There's butterfly valves. A butterfly valve is what you generally see. Evan, if you're watching, you'll be loving this. A butterfly valve is what you see generally towards the start of a well. A butterfly valve is kind of like an on and off switch. It just controls flow. It doesn't really... a control valve is different. Like, this is more of an on and off switch. And you can use a butterfly valve as regulation, but it generally doesn't act in that way. Either way, this is like got a big plate on it, and it'll if it gets clotted by something, it'll break it down. This is what like an industrial sized butterfly valve looks like in a pipeline. Now, when it comes to a control valve, I used to work for a company called Kent Introl. And Kent Introl, if I just Kent Introl. So I used to work at NVIDIA. No, I used to work at Kent Introl. And this is what I used to sell. This is an actuator that's a control valve. Inside of a control valve, you've got these pistons. These pistons inside of a control valve are super expensive. So you might have one of these like made of tungsten carbide or something like that. And this inside unit here inside the valve is costing... I mean, the most expensive the most expensive valve I ever sold, I think, was $645,000. And that's not the most expensive valve the company sold. That's the most expensive valve I sold. And that was part of a purchase order of 3 valves, and it came to about $1.5 million. The bulk of the cost of that was this interior unit because of the intricacies of these disc stacks in the middle. So these stacks, when they manufacture them, they're very complex. How much time do we actually have? Nothing's actually going on with Bitcoin. But when you manufacture one of these disk stacks inside of a control valve, if I go and bring it, I've even got, I shouldn't say I've got one. I've got one of these in my house. I got one off of the shop floor, it was toasted. It was a part that came in and it got refurbished, but they're pretty cool. The reason I got one is it was scrap metal. I'm from Yorkshire. But you know, the funny thing is, right? One of these things, we might bill a customer maybe $200,000 for just this one part. But if it's on a shutdown, like it would be in Iran, you can bill them $2 or $3 million for that part. So the spares department where we work, and this is the point I'm trying to get to, is you wouldn't have to replace all of the valve bodies. All of the valve bodies would be okay during a shutdown. Generally, I mean, if you're going to do the shutdown, you may as well take the valve bodies off, do a bit of refurbishing and check everything. These are hydraulic actuators as well. They're pretty sick. Oh, it makes me nostalgic, and I used to hate my life so much. It was terrible. Look, I used to sell the most boring things on earth. They go up and down really slowly, modulating the flow. Anyway, when you shut down a rig, it basically has a buildup of sand and just nasty things and rocks and everything like that, and it all comes to the surface. So the next time you open the wellhead, it all blasts it through the pipe. That strips the inside of all of these valves out, and it basically just destroys the internal components in all of the control valves. So you end up with these situation whereby you've got nothing inside them. So you can have, it's basically just a straight through pipe. And that's where it becomes very dangerous. And that's why when you do a shutdown, it takes like a year, or maybe it can even take longer to reopen a whole plant, because it's different than shutting down an area of a facility. You're shutting down the whole facility, and that's one of the most expensive things that you can do in oil and gas. So it would be pretty catastrophic should they had to do a complete shutdown in the oil and gas in Iran, because it'd be so expensive. Bro, analyze it. I am already 50x leveraged. Yes, we're back. So that's good. Anyway, tungsten prices have gone like Bitcoin in the bull run. Yeah, I mean, it's mad. And also, you've got to remember as well, the cost of a control valve largely comes down to labor. A lot of these high-end control valves, you won't find them in Iran, let's be honest. A lot of the control valves that you'll find in Iran come from China or India. Now, the company that I used to work for did have an Indian branch, and we used to order stuff from the Indian branch and pretend it was from England and sell it for more money. I don't work for him anymore. I've not worked for him for 8 years. I don't give a crap. I'm joking. I do care a little bit. But I really don't feel like I owe this company anything just because of how bad they treat me. But They treated me really well at first, but then when my boss David left, it changed, and I got left with this cunt called Martin, and I didn't like Martin. He was a knob. He was really rude, miserable, faced like a slapped ass. Just didn't like him. And I should stop on that topic. You meant to stop me.
The link for the live.
You sent me the link for the live.
Yeah.
Oh, for that one. Okay, that's not actually the official link. That's the CNBC link. We'll load it up on the official website, the Fed website. You type in Fed Live on Google, and then it'll come up. I shouldn't tell them that on the stream, because then they can just leave me. You're not here for Jerome? I thought you all came for Jerome. Anyway, let's check back in on the chat. Sorry for ignoring you all. I'll also load back up the price chart here, which we're now trading at $75,000. So, peace in the Middle East, says Web3 Spud. Let's go, Martini says kills of the week. Can you get some altcoin charts up? Doge broke out today. Doge broke out? Doge did. It can't be true. I can definitely do that. Right. So there's something that I wanted to bring up to you as well, which is I think the S&P is due. This is a tremendous bounce. Like, this is a unfathomably amazing bounce on the S&P 500. But one of the things that you're gonna, and the reason why we need to stream this meeting today is after today's meeting, they do the earnings announcement for Meta, Google, and two other ones of the Mag 7. I can't remember all of them, but I'll go through it in a second because he's going to ping me over an article. But when the earnings announcements come out after the stream, you will again see the market move again. And if the earnings announcements for AI come out positive, the market will skyrocket back up to new highs. But if the earnings announcements for AI come in negative, which they likely will do, because OpenAI hasn't been paying out, and now Elon Musk is suing them, it's imperative for OpenAI to do an IPO. OpenAI have to do their IPO. The reason why OpenAI have to do their IPO is because if they don't, they can't pay their debt, because their debts, they've issued stock options. Being that they have issued shares in return for debt, they're buying things with shares. They're paying over the odds of what they should be doing anyway. But if they don't IPO, they can't sell the shares, can't the people that have bought the things, which basically makes OpenAI bankrupt overnight. So it's pretty important that OpenAI do launch on the stock market, and I kind of hope they don't. I really think it would be a good thing for the earth. I feel like OpenAI is generally an evil company. Yeah, it's not a good one. They are run by a certain group of people that run the world. So, that being said, moving on. Yeah. So, this is the earnings for today. Earnings on Wednesday, the 29th of April. Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, AstraZeneca. Oh, wow, that's the COVID people. KLA, Qualcomm. So basically the big ones at the top. Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta. The big boys at the top, the $1 trillion companies. The rest of it doesn't really matter. Oh, Carvana earnings today. Oh, that could be a fun one. Let's just keep an eye on Carvana, shall we? Carvana's got a price chart, which is like something that you might have seen in crypto, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Look at the Carvana chart. You think that Bitcoin's chart's pretty mad? Look at the Carvana chart. It's insane. Look at that. The price of Carvana went from like $1 or $2 up to being $376. It then went back down to $5, and then it went back up to $484. Like that is crazy. Yeah, I mean, imagine. And the funny thing is, I was watching videos about Carvana and how hilariously bad it was going in 2023, and I wasn't buying the stock. And that's what you've got to learn from. You've got to learn when we are gloating, oh, haha, funny, prices is down. That's when you buy. It's always when you buy. But don't do the same strategy with crypto. That's not wise. The thing is, in crypto, if you had deployed the same strategy, Oh, fuck. Jerome's live. Right, Jerome's talking. I should get onto this. I can't believe I missed the start. Here we go.
With our 2%.
It's the questions anyway that are the important bit.
Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. At today's meeting, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 3.5 to 3.75%. The economic outlook remains highly uncertain, and the conflict in the Middle East has added to this uncertainty. In the near term, higher energy prices will push up overall inflation. Beyond that, the scope and duration of potential effects on the economy remain unclear, as does the future course of the conflict itself. We will continue to monitor the risks to both sides of our dual mandate. We are well positioned to determine the extent and timing of additional adjustments to our policy rate based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. Monetary policy is not on a preset course, and we will make our decisions on a meeting-by-meeting basis. This is my last press conference as chair, and I will close with a few thoughts. First, I want to congratulate Kevin Warsh on his advancement out of Senate banking.
There we go. Boom. That would have been
This is an
polymarking.
important step forward, and I wish him well as that process continues. The Federal Reserve exists for one fundamental purpose: to foster the economic conditions in which American families and businesses can thrive. Stable prices, a strong job market, and a financial system they can depend on. Every decision we make, whether about interest rates or regulatory and supervisory matters or other issues, is made in service of that purpose. Our decisions reflect the collective judgment of the Board of Governors and the Federal Open Market Committee, colleagues who demonstrate analytical rigor, principled judgment, and a genuine commitment to the public interest. Our collaborative and deliberative process has long reflected a shared commitment to finding common ground in service to our mission. This institution is resilient, capable, and staffed by professionals of extraordinary talent and exceptional dedication. It has been a privilege to serve alongside so many great public servants at the Board of Governors and around the Federal Reserve System. The Fed's work is only as effective as the public's understanding of it, and you, the press, are essential to keeping the public informed about what we do and why. The people we serve benefit from your careful reporting. I welcomed the announcement last Friday by the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia that she had closed the criminal investigation. She also noted, however, that she would not hesitate to restart the investigation. Over the weekend, the Department of Justice provided assurances that they will not reopen the investigation unless there's a criminal referral from the Fed's Inspector General. And, absent such a referral, if they do appeal the recent court decision, they would not seek, as part of that appeal, to restart the investigation or send new subpoenas. I've said that I will not leave the board until this investigation is well and truly over with transparency and finality, and I stand by that. I'm encouraged by recent developments, and I'm watching the remaining steps in this process carefully. My decisions on these matters will continue to be guided entirely by what I believe is in the best interest of the institution and the people we serve. After my term as chair ends on May 15, I will continue to serve as a governor for a period of time to be determined. I plan to keep a low profile as a governor. There's only ever one chair of the Federal Reserve Board. When Kevin Warsh is confirmed and sworn in, he will be that chair. Once sworn in as board chair, his new colleagues will elect him to chair the FOMC as well. As I regularly point out from this podium, our success in delivering our goals matters for all Americans. I'm confident that the Fed will continue to do its work with objectivity, integrity, and a deep commitment to serve the American people. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the kind words about the press. Often doesn't come from the podium in different places, but appreciate that. Can you talk about what is gone into your decision to remain on the board? What kind of criteria are you weighing, and how long might you stay? Thank you.
Sure. So, my concern is really about the series of legal attacks on the Fed, which threaten our ability to conduct monetary policy without considering political factors. And I want to note here, this has nothing whatever to do with verbal criticism by elected officials. I've never suggested that such verbal criticism is a problem, and neither has anyone else here. But these legal actions by the administration are unprecedented in our 113-year history, and there are ongoing threats of additional such actions. I worry that these attacks are battering the institution and putting at risk the thing that really matters to the public, which is the ability to conduct monetary policy without taking into consideration political factors. It is so important for our economy, for the people that we serve, that they can depend over time on a central bank that operates that way, free of political influence. It's part of the absolute foundation of this amazing economy that we have. It's just one of the many reasons why the U.S. economy is the envy of the world. That piece of institutional architecture separates successful countries from unsuccessful countries. It is extremely important, not for the people who work at the Fed at any given time, but for the people that we serve, that the Fed remain able to conduct monetary policy in a way that doesn't get pulled into politics, trying to help or hurt any particular politician or political party. It's critical for the people that we serve. In terms of when I would leave, I will leave when I think it's appropriate to do so. Was that all your questions, or was that?
Well, I just have a follow-up, which is, what would you say to the criticism that by remaining on the board, you're actually taking a political act and denying President Trump the majority of the board, which as president he would have if you left?
I don't see that at all. As I mentioned, I'm literally staying because of the actions that have been taken. I had long planned to be retiring, and the things that have happened in the last 3 months have I think left me no choice but to stay until I see them through at least that long. In addition, I don't see how this will interfere. My intention is not to interfere. I was a governor for almost 6 years, and the tradition is at the Fed that governors who understand how difficult the role of chair is, and as a soon-to-be former chair, I do understand how hard it is to get consensus with 19 strong-minded people. You work with the chair. You try to be heard, but also collaborate with the chair and try to support the chair when you can. When you can't, you can't. And I think that's the attitude that people generally take, and that's the attitude that I'll take.
Nick.
Chair Powell, if I could ask about the inflation outlook. In March, you described the standard practice of looking through energy shocks as conditional on inflation expectations staying anchored. Since that meeting, there has been very little progress reopening key energy trade corridors. Can you help us understand how the inflation outlook has changed in the intermeeting period, beginning with the prospects for tariff pass-through resolving on the timeline that you had outlined in March, before getting to the energy shock that is now on top?
So, I would look at it this way. For a long time, we've been working on the hypothesis, really, that tariffs would lead to a one-time price increase and that would go away over time. In other words, that there would be no further change, so measured inflation wouldn't reflect that higher level going up more and more. And it's time for that to happen. We really do expect that to be happening in the next 2 quarters. So we'll be watching very carefully to see that what we've thought all along would happen. That's the kind of critical part of the forecast. We need to really see that. With energy, it's so hard to say. I mentioned, in sort of the textbook, you would look through an oil shock because they tend to be short-lived and they tend to revert, and monetary policy works with long and variable lags, so you wouldn't necessarily react right away. I think that is all the more true given that we're several years above 2% inflation and that we're already looking through the tariff shock. So I think we're going to be very cautious about that. But the question about looking through energy really is not in front of us right now. It hasn't even peaked yet. And I think we'd want to see the backside of that and progress on tariffs before we even thought about reducing rates.
So if I could follow up, the statement today preserves language that has taken on some meaning as it was socialized when the committee was actively lowering rates. Why is that easing bias still ripe, given how different the inflation outlook is now versus a meeting or two ago? And what more would have to happen for it to get evicted?
So that was, as you will recall, we had a discussion about that at the last meeting, and we talked about it in the press conference after the March meeting. We had the same today. We had quite a vigorous discussion about that very issue and the guidance, and is it still appropriate and that kind of thing. And I would say that the number of people on the committee who either could support that language changing to a more neutral stance so that a hike is as likely as a cut. That number has increased over the intermeeting period, and it's easy to see why. I mean, it's a good question, right? You see, inflation has moved up over the interim a bit. Core inflation's 3.2 now, moving, albeit just a little bit, in the wrong direction. And we know that there will be, that there's headline inflation coming out of the Gulf, and we don't know how much that will be. We're going to need to see. So it makes all the sense in the world that people would look at that and we'd have a vigorous discussion about that. You saw that 3 people dissented over the language. I think all of those people agreed with the rate decision. So the majority of the committee did not want to do that, and I didn't think we needed to do it at this meeting. It really was just a question of why do we need to do that now? We have so much to learn. There's so much uncertainty about the path ahead. There doesn't need to be any rush to make that decision now, because what happens in the next 30, 60 days, even by the next meeting, could really change the picture around that language. So, it's a much closer thing on the committee than it was in March, and that makes all the sense in the world, it seems to me.
Claire.
So Claire Jones, Financial Times. Just going back to this issue of the easing bias, we've now got oil approaching $120 a barrel when it comes to the benchmark Brent crude. If it stays around those levels 6 weeks from now, what would be your best guess as to whether the easing bias will still be in the statement? Thank you.
I wouldn't want to guess. Well, first of all, we're going to have new leadership in all likelihood by then, and new leadership's going to have a very important role to play in that. So I won't be standing here at this podium to answer your question. So I don't know. As I mentioned, that's all I can really say is that we had a great discussion about that today. It's gotten to be a better question in the interim period. We had the discussion. A majority are still on the page of not feeling the need to move to that level, and that's where I am. I get it, though. At a certain point, you would move, and that conceivably could come as soon as the next meeting.
Thank you. Just to follow on, the new leadership also seemed rather lukewarm on press conferences and on the dot plots. What would your advice to him be on these communication tools?
So I'm not going to give him any advice through you today here, but I think communications generally is I think every
that wasn't me.
Takes
That was
a look
them.
at communications, and it's a very healthy thing. I mean, communications it's very complex, and you can always be looking at new things. And if that happens, it feels like it's going to happen. That's a completely appropriate thing.
Neil.
Hi, Chair Powell, Neil Owen with Axios. Can you tell us if you've been in touch with incoming Chairman Warsh? To what extent is this a normal transition process versus all the things swirling around, something unusual, and what can we expect when he takes that podium in a few weeks?
I haven't seen him since seeing him at a dinner in January where I congratulated him and had a nice chat with him. Haven't seen him. I don't know what a normal process is. The last process was with Janet Yellen, with whom I had worked for 6 years, and so it was. We were sitting down the hall from each other, so it was a very different thing. I think this is and will be a very normal, standard kind of a transition process. So that's what I expect. I have every reason to think it will be.
Quick follow-up: is the Supreme Court ruling on Governor Cook a factor in when you may leave as a governor?
I wasn't thinking of it as such, but no, not really. I mean, I'm thinking more of the other things I mentioned.
Chris.
Hi, thanks for taking our question. I wanted to ask a question about your tenure, and Chris Rugaber at Associated Press. During your tenure as chair, you often spoke about how disadvantaged Americans benefited from extended periods of low unemployment. In the new framework the Fed adopted in 2020, some economists say elevated the Fed's employment mandate. Are you worried that the pandemic inflation spike that followed will make future Fed chairs more reluctant to pursue a hot jobs market? And should they be?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, what we experienced in the teens, the mid-teens, was really low levels of unemployment for a long period of time and no reaction from inflation. And we all very much took notice of that. We also noticed that the biggest wage gains were going to people at the bottom end of the income spectrum. And we had many, many reports of, I mean, it felt like a fairly stable equilibrium, and a lot of benefits were flowing to people at the bottom end of the income spectrum, including companies were, setting up in people who were confined and like training them before they got out, and it was a very healthy sort of set of societal dynamics. So of course, I think anybody would love to get back to that. I don't think that anything that happened to create the global pandemic inflation was in any way related to overweighting the employment market. I mean, it was a global shock that happened essentially very, very similarly all over the world. It had to do with closing, reopening, stimulus, and all that. And I mean, you could look at a graph of 10 big economies on the page and not know which was the U.S. and which was Germany, France, and things like that. So I don't think that insight was in any way responsible for the high inflation that we experienced. So, I mean, I think it's always been a balance. You've got to be strong on both of our dual mandates, and for example, now we don't feel that the labor market is at all a source of inflation, so we don't need to be worrying about that. It's been a long time since we have had to worry about that. Well, actually, during the pandemic recovery, the labor market was super overheated and tight, and that's when we had to worry about it, but not now.
Just on the other issue, do you need more assurance from the Justice Department before stepping down? Is that what you're waiting for, or what else?
I'm waiting, for the investigation to be well and truly over with finality and transparency, and I'm waiting for that, and I will leave when I think it's appropriate to do so.
Michael McKee.
Michael McKee from Bloomberg Television and Radio. I'd like to ask you if you could explain a little more or characterize a little more the discussion about the two-sided view and interest rates, because there were some members of the Open Market Committee who've been suggesting that we may need to raise interest rates even absent the war because inflation was not coming down fast enough. Is there any sense that interest rates might have to go up, or was this just a setup to sort of warn people that you're worried about the war impacts?
So nobody, the three dissenters and others who could have supported that, and others who were voters and non-voters who preferred it, they all supported the rate decision, right? So people are not saying we need to hike now. It's more a question of, don't we kind of feel that we should be neutral? And what are markets doing? People argue that this is consistent with markets are doing. And again, it's a very fair question, but these changes, it's a form of forward guidance, and you want to make them in a way that will be sustained and continue to make sense, and not something you need to take back, fairly quickly. So I think we just a group of us, including me, didn't feel like we needed to be in a hurry on that. That markets are not confused about our reaction function. We don't have a problem to solve on that. But the other side of the argument is a good argument too, as I mentioned. It's a perfectly good argument to be having, good discussion to be having. So, and it came out the way it came out.
Well, you've got three dissents in favor of two-sided warning. You've got yourself staying on the board. You've got the criticism that does come from elected officials, and you've got a lot of critics who have faulted the Fed for being too slow 2021 with inflation. Are you worried about Fed credibility?
I'm sorry, I just have to interrupt this to address the chat. There is a man in the chat who said, Jude, you've lost so much liquidity in the past year. Bad call after bad call. But his profile picture is pulse chain. I would just like to bring that up. And also, no, and we're doing good. I've just been sick. Like, anyway, shut up about me. Continue, Mr. Fed. It's actually getting quite interesting, is this?
You've got 18 colleagues on the FOMC. 11 of them vote during any year, and your job is to create consensus. It's to talk to them, understand them, be inside their thinking, and be able to pull them together and get consensus and move. And that's what every Fed chair has to do. And I think Kevin Warsh is actually quite well. He has the capabilities, skills to be very good at that, I would think. So I think I'm not so worried about that process. I think that'll work itself out.
Howard.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Howard Schneider with Reuters. You mentioned that staying on as a governor, you intend to keep a low profile. I'm just wondering if you could give us a little more detail on what that looks like and how you can... Touche. Walk down the steps. What that looks like, and particularly around the policy discussion, how you're able to have your intervention and not be a shadow chair and not have a kind of an outsized influence over the process.
Yeah, that's just something I would never do. The shadow chair thing. No, I don't know what the exact specifics of it will be, but I'm going back to being a governor. I respect the role of chair. I was a chair. I was a governor for 6 years, and I know what that's like. I know, and I had a pretty front row seat particularly with Chair Yellen, to whom I was close when I worked with Chairman Bernanke for 2 years, but I was brand new at that time, so I got a sense of what it was, and I had real sympathy for how hard it is to get that group to consensus. And I always felt like I don't want to add to that unnecessarily, and that means try to support the chairs where the direction the chair wants to go in, if you can. If you can't, you can't. And I think that's the way it's always worked there, because the chair only has one vote, plus the ability to develop consensus. And if people won't be, they won't, if they're not flexible at all, then how do you ever do that? And so that's why the authority the chair has really is to develop relationships with people and work with them, and then put something forward that has consensus. And I propose to be a very constructive participant in that process, really out of respect for the office of the chair.
And in your view as a soon-to-be governor, how do you see the risks of oil prices bleeding into core inflation in coming weeks? Because it seems like the commentary that was coming from particularly some of the Reserve Bank presidents, they were elevated concerns about the bleed into core. And, here we are with 3 dissents now. What do you see as the prospect of a core inflation?
Those prospects are real. Remember, though, and they're real, and the real thing is we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to need to see. And the good news is we think our policy stance is in a very good place for us to wait and see. We're right kind of at the high end of neutral, or perhaps mildly restrictive. The labor market shows more and more signs of stability, whereas inflation is kind of misbehaving. And so maybe a little bit of restriction or the high end of neutral is just the right place to be. So we can wait here and see how things work out before we act. And we'll see how much how much does come through into core. You see it already in airfares, of course, but you may see it in many other places. We just don't know yet, and it's so unknowable, because how long will the strait be closed? You can develop any number of scenarios that you want, but we really won't know until we know. So fortunately, we're in a good place to wait and let things develop.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. You started holding post-meeting press conferences for every meeting, as opposed to the ones with with SEPs. Can you talk about why you see that as a net positive?
So we always said, when we were doing quarterly press conferences, we always said we can move at any meeting, but we only ever moved at the quarterly SEP meetings where we had the press conference. So if you think about it, during the pandemic, we were moving like a lot at every meeting, and sometimes between meetings, and doing that with our press conference, I think, would have been quite challenging. It's become the industry norm. It's the standard. I don't know whether that has to remain that way. I don't know. I mean, it's just something people have become used to, and I do think it's quite helpful to, I try to deliver a message on behalf of the committee, rather than 18 other people going out and delivering their message, and it's going to be all over the place because we do, thankfully, have widely disparate views.
Okay, thanks. The other thing I wanted to ask about was the communications review from last year. Could you describe the debate last year, what changes were considered, what you wanted, and what prevented action, any action on those changes?
So yeah, I'm not going to go into the real small specifics, but what we found very quickly was that making changes, making really large changes, for example, to the dot plot or the SEP, it didn't have, we couldn't come up with anything that had really broad support on the committee. And so we just moved on. We didn't really do as much on that as we might have. And I was never the world's biggest fan of the dot plot, but you can't beat something with nothing. And we've looked at a bunch of things, and it's something. Like I said, I think every new chair is going to look at our suite of communications, and think about what would be changes. We are the only major central bank that doesn't publish a forecast, and that's because we have a 19-person committee, and you try to do that at the board. That's hard. At the committee, that's hard. It's hard if you do it at the staff. So it works. I think our communications are fine, but looking at doing it in a different and better way is the most natural thing in the world.
Thank you. Colby Smith with the New York Times. If I could follow up on Mike's question about hikes, are we right to assume that the hawkish outcome for the Fed is still one in which the committee just extends the pause in rate cuts? And to what extent is there a growing sense within the committee that monetary policy really isn't just restrictive at all right now? The economy is holding up relatively well despite this major energy shock. The unemployment rate has ticked lower. Inflation was moving sideways even before the war and is now moving higher. So where is the committee at on that debate?
Where we're at is we think our policy rate is in a good place. If we need to hike, we will certainly signal that, and we will certainly do it. And if we need to cut, then, or if it's appropriate to cut, then we'll signal the opposite. I think because we feel like we're in a good place to move in either direction. Nobody's calling for a hike right now. So it really is going to depend on how things evolve, and that's really where it is. As I mentioned, much closer question this cycle on changing the guidance, but ultimately we didn't.
And as it relates to the war, at what point do you think the risk to growth will be larger than the risk to inflation as this conflict drags on?
You just have to find that out empirically. Given our the fact that we're a big exporter of energy, and that our economy is far less energy intensive, oil intensive than it was during the 70s, the effects on the United States are really substantially less than those of Western Europe or Asia, who are feeling much greater effects from these things. The effects we're feeling in the current situation currently, and in sort of what's priced in, which is a relatively quick outcome. If this goes on for much longer and prices go much higher, then we'll feel that much more. And of course, I'm talking about aggregate inflation numbers. We're very well aware that people are experiencing higher gas prices all over the country now, and that hurts. And those hikes may continue to happen. And other things are going to start to reflect airline fares I mentioned, and other products and services that are dependent upon petroleum and derivatives of petroleum. People are going to start to feel that.
Edward.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Edward Lawrence with Fox Business. So I guess I'll just ask you directly on this. The markets don't see a rate cut at all this year, is what they're predicting. Do you think that we are at the neutral rate? Why or why not?
The neutral rate is we cannot know it with certainty. I think pretty close to the neutral rate. Yeah, I always had it between 3% and 4%. We're a little north of 3.5%, so that's well in the range of what I would consider a reasonable, but at the higher end of the range of what I would consider reasonable neutral rate. I think the labor market is still probably cooling off just a little bit. And I don't think there's much of a case for any case really for policy looking, meaningfully restrictive, maybe mildly restrictive or neutral, I would say.
And I want to follow up on some of the other questions about your future a little bit. The first time we've seen 4 dissents now since October of 1992, are you handing off a divided Fed?
The thing to remember is we have always had vigorous debates, and they're excellent debates. I have to say they've been really good, and we're in an unusually difficult situation. So we've really had 4 supply shocks. You can say more than 4, but at a minimum, we had the pandemic, we had the invasion of Ukraine, we had tariffs, and now we have Iran and the oil, the oil spike. So every supply shock has the capability of driving inflation up and unemployment up. And what do? It's the central bank has a really hard time knowing what to do. So the right thing to do is to try to balance the achievement of those 2 goals, and that's what our framework calls for us to do. But these are really tough, difficult judgments. You've got to have a forecast for each variable. You've got to think how long it's going to take to get back to target. You got to think how restrictive or not is policy. So it's only natural that you have a range of views on the committee. People are going to see it different ways. They're going to have different risk tolerances and that kind of thing. I mean, if everybody agreed, that would be surprising. And I think it's partly a function of the extraordinarily challenging set of supply shocks that we've been dealing with now for 5-6 years.
Thank you so much, Chair Powell. Selena Wayne with ABC News. Are you confident that Kevin Warsh will stand up to political pressure from President Trump?
So he testified very strongly to that effect in his hearing, and I'll take him at his word.
And when it comes to gas, right now it's over $4 a gallon. Inflation just hit a 2-year high. Should Americans expect to be paying higher gas prices for the rest of this year? And in your view, does that take a rate cut off of the table? And secondly, by staying on as Fed governor, what message do you think you're sending to the president?
I don't know what gas prices are going to do for the rest of the year. And it will depend on how long the strait remains closed and how quickly it can be reopened and that kind of thing. But remember, when gas prices go up, that's disposable income coming out of people's pockets, so they're going to spend less on other things. So there will be a hit to GDP. So it's a question whether spending goes down to offset the inflationary effects. So it's not the answer isn't obvious ex ante whether you should move your rate over because of that. We'll have to see how it evolves.
And the message it sends to President Trump by staying on?
I'll stand on what I said earlier.
Victoria. Hi, Victoria Guido with Politico. During your tenure, Fed independence has come under pressure in a lot of different ways. And I was just wondering, practically speaking, where do you see Fed independence as coming from? Is it the law? Is it political support from Congress? Is it the actions of the Fed? What sustains Fed independence?
Well, it's to a significant extent, it is the law. And, we've had to go to court to successfully so far to defend it. But the law does create a setting in which the Fed can and is directed to make monetary policy without consideration of political factors. And so part of it is the law. But it goes beyond that, though. There's a set of customs. There's a boundary line between the Fed and the administration, between the Fed and the Treasury Department. And we need to continue to respect those boundaries about what the Fed is responsible for and what the Treasury is responsible for and what the rest of the administration is responsible for. So some of it is legal. In fact, it's all legal at the end of the day, but it's more than just monetary policy. We don't want to use our tools we haven't wanted to use our tools to achieve goals that are really clearly outside our mandate. Every administration looks at our tools and thinks that would be good to repurpose those to serve other purposes, but that's dragging us into politics and into fiscal policy, so we've resisted that.
Well, and maybe another way of asking it too is, do you think that Fed independence is as strong now as when you became chair? And if so, why?
Look, I think it's at risk. I mean, I think these legal assaults, if you will, as I mentioned, the institution is being battered over these things. We're having to resort to, the courts to enforce our legal, it's not so much independence. It's really the ability to to make monetary policy without political considerations. That's what we're talking about. And we've had to do that, and we've been successful so far, but that's not over. None of that is concluded yet. And it's really important. It's not about people who work at the Fed or the institution. It's about the benefits of a central bank that makes decisions based on analysis and our best thinking, rather than trying to help or hurt politicians. It's that there's a bright line between central banks who do one and do the other, and successful countries have uniformly, successful advanced economy countries have a really strong set of protections around their central bank just for that reason. So that's what it's all about. I think I am confident, as I said in my remarks, that the Fed will continue to make its decision based on analysis, rigorous analysis, and not on political considerations. But we've had to fight for it, and I'd like to think that I'd like to think we can get out of that era and go back to respecting, what the law says and what custom has been, which is to, let the Fed do our thing. It's an institution full of human beings who work super hard to get things right for the benefit of the public. We're all human. Don't expect perfection, but do expect us to make, decisions without political considerations and the very best analysis we can bring.
Katerina Saraiva, Bloomberg News. How would you characterize what you've heard from your colleagues on your decision to stay? Do you have their support? And then have you heard concern from your colleagues about continued legal attacks from the executive branch? Is this something that others have, talked to you about?
So I think that I don't want to report on what my colleagues think. They can speak for themselves. But there are widespread concerns that these things may continue. That's all I'll say. And and that would be a problem. And so.
And then I just also wanted to ask about Governor Waller's speech on the reserve banks. Do you have any thoughts on centralizing some of those functions in the way he described? And then are you concerned that something like that could potentially be a slippery slope to, to consolidate reserve bank functions even more in such a way where the central bank ultimately loses some of that important regional information?
So we try to be good stewards of the public's money and efficient, and Chris Waller is particularly passionate about that. Of course, so are the presidents, and it's a question of how do you accomplish it. We of course, and Chris said this in his speech, we want 12 strong independent central banks with their own staffs and their own monetary policy views and all that. But there are things that are done in all 12 which could well be done at one much more efficiently and with cost savings. And so there's a back and forth going on that, but everybody's on the same page. The other thing he touched on was the idea of removing reserve bank presidents from office over different views on monetary policy. And I would just agree with him so strongly that would be the beginning of the end of the Fed's ability to make monetary policy independently. If every administration could come in and do that, you're just another cabinet agency at that point. So that's not something that I would support. Chris said the same thing.
Christine. Thanks, Chair Powell. Christine Romans, NBC News. I want to ask about legacy. When the history books are written, how do you think your stewardship at the Fed will be remembered for the past 8 years?
I'm going to just say that that's for someone else to say. I'll give you a mulligan on that.
All right, I'm going to ask you about misbehaving inflation then. You talked about those 4 big shocks, supply shocks over the past 5 years, and inflation still misbehaving. What's your message to American families who feel like inflation has not been under control for them really since the COVID reopening?
You know, we're committed to bring inflation back down to 2% and sustainably. That's our goal, and we'll stick at it until that happens. We keep getting these events keep happening, which keep driving up costs, and you know, the best thing we can do is to use our tools to guide inflation back down to 2%. I think trying to get there really quickly could be very costly in terms of job loss and things like that, but we try to get there over time in a way that does the least damage possible, and you know, our commitment to that is never ending and unshakable.
How would you describe the economy outside of the misbehaving inflation? I mean, it's still awfully resilient given all of the blows.
I don't know that you can be awfully resilient. So it's actually quite resilient, I would say, because it's a positive thing. If I can have that amendment, yeah, you know, growth is really solid across our economy. Some of that is that consumer spending is hanging in pretty well. The most recent data are good. And some of it is just the apparently insatiable demand for data centers all over the United States. So a lot of business investment going into building data centers, and every reason to think that that continues. So you've got an economy that's growing at 2% or better. PDFP, which is private domestic final purchases, which is really a better signal of a momentum in the economy, is actually higher than that. So that's a positive thing. If you look at the unemployment rate, it's 4.3%. So that's a low rate. That's pretty close to mainstream estimates of the natural rate. We've been there for a long time. So it doesn't feel like a good labor market to some who don't have jobs, because quits are really low, hires are really low, and there's effectively no new net job creation. So that's you know, in a sense, the labor market is in balance, but it's an unusual and uncomfortable kind of a balance where people who don't have jobs will have a hard time breaking in unless somebody quits their job. So that's pretty good. You know, inflation is the thing we need to work on, and it's partly tariffs, which we think that inflation should subside over the course of this year, because it's kind of a one-time increase. It shouldn't be repeated, and that should start happening pretty soon. The energy inflation that we're getting should go through fairly quickly. And we'll just have to see how that works out. In the meantime, you know, we think our policy stance is in a good place for us to hold and wait developments.
Jennifer. Thank you, Chair Powell. Jennifer Schonberger with Yahoo Finance. At the risk of beating the dead horse here, clearly 3 members objected to keeping that easing bias in the statement. And you said that the majority still didn't need to move to new language at this point. So does the majority of the committee still have a bias towards cuts at this point, or has the bias on the committee shifted away from cuts towards holding or hikes if that was needed?
So I think that, you know, the center is moving toward a more neutral place, and that's sort of what markets are saying too. I just think, you know, there's a lot of signaling going on when you change guidance like that, and so we just, I guess a majority of us didn't feel like we needed to send a signal on that right now. But maybe it'll come to that, and the reason is because, you know, we're kind of waiting to see what happens with events in the Middle East and what are the implications of those events for the U.S. economy. So there's a group who feels like we don't need to be in a hurry to do that. We get it, and of course we will move to a hiking bias if we want to hike, and we'll move to a neutral bias before that. But there was a difference over whether to do it at this meeting, at a meeting at which all but one of us agreed that the rate decision was correct, which was not to move.
And you just said moments ago that you believe Fed independence is at risk. Is it safe to say that you want to stay on as a governor to serve as a check and balance on that?
I want to stay until I will stay until I feel it's appropriate for me to leave. And yes, that is really what is driving this. I'm not looking to be, you know, a high-profile dissident or anything like that. I'm more looking at the other aspects of this and wanting to see that things have calmed down and we're returning to a traditional model of working with the people that you have and bringing them to consensus and respecting that consensus. That's what I'm hoping to see.
Matt Egan.
Thanks, Chair Powell. Matt Egan with CNN. You've made many tough decisions in your time at the Fed, and as your time as chair comes to a close and you think about your tenure and perhaps your legacy, are there any decisions that stand out as ones that you're particularly proud of? And are there any that, with the benefit of hindsight, you would take a mulligan on?
Yeah, it's hard. I wouldn't want to single out individual things at this point. I'll just say, we, all of us together, have consistently tried to do what we think is best for the American people based on our tools and our objectives that Congress has given us. It's been very challenging because we've been in a situation of supply shocks really for 6 years, and that's just a very different situation than for a very long time. What the Fed and other central banks were doing all the time was demand management. And, and there was always the inflation mandate, but inflation was low for 25 years. So this is a very different world and a much more challenging one where you have to balance the two objectives. And by the way, central banks that have an inflation mandate have to do exactly the same thing because they're balancing economic activity. So that's been challenging, and we've tried to do our very best through these really challenging times, and I'm really proud of the work that I've done, that my colleagues and I have done during these years.
Now, to follow up on some of the discussion around Fed independence, can you explain to the public why this notion of Fed independence, which might sound kind of wonky to some, is so critical? I mean, what are the consequences if either the Supreme Court rules against Lisa Cook or the Fed in the future decides to make decisions more around the political calendar instead of the economic data?
So every major advanced economy in the world has made the same decision the United States has made, and that is that they want to take the making of monetary policy, the setting of interest rates to support the economy, to achieve maximum employment and price stability. They want to take that out of the direct control of elected politicians. And the reason is elected politicians are always running for election, and they'll always want low rates, and that will lead to inflation over time. So after literally centuries of experience with that, the whole world moved to the different model, and it's worked great. I mean, this is the era in which inflation was under control for 40 years. Then we had the pandemic, inflation everywhere in the world, and now we have inflation that had gone pretty much all the way back to target, really close to all the way back to target, and now is being buffeted by the energy shock, and the U.S. buffeted by the tariff shock as well. So, but what I would say to the general public is that's the backstory, is that don't think about an institution being independent. Think about it this way, that you want people to make monetary policy and set interest rates to benefit the general public and to try to achieve economic goals, which are maximum employment and price stability, and focus only on that and ignore political considerations, completely ignore them. This isn't bipartisan, this is nonpartisan. So we want to just work directly for the American people doing these things. We don't think, oh, I want to do this because the president says it's a good idea, or because there's an election coming up and I want to speed up or slow down the economy. I mean, think about that. If that's what we were doing, we'd have no credibility. Markets would lose faith in us, and our ability to control inflation and have any respect would be gone. And let me say, whatever people say, the markets believe in that we will produce 2% inflation. If you look at longer run expectations, markets believe that there's no sense in which our credibility in the markets has weakened. It's just not the case. It's people do get it, that this is our commitment and that we will achieve it, and it's priced in. If you disagree with that, then you can go ahead and bet against the markets, but the markets are pricing in Fed credibility.
Okay, we'll go to Richard for the last question.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Richard Escobedo with CBS News. We talked a lot about gasoline prices and even you mentioned airline ticket prices, both of which are up dramatically because of the war in Iran. And so I wonder, are you seeing that weigh down consumer spending in other parts of the economy? And if so, how worried are you that that will be a drag on growth?
You don't see it in spending yet. You really don't. I mean, as one of your colleagues said, the economy has been resilient. It really has. Not just this time, but it's been remarkably resilient for some years now. The U.S. economy has just powered through shock after shock, and consumers are still spending, and that's what the banks will tell you, credit card companies will tell you, the retail sales numbers that we got most recently. People are still spending, and how long can that go on in a world where if gas prices were to go up a bunch more, that's taking otherwise spendable money out of people's pockets. But right now, we don't actually see much slowdown yet, certainly none from this, but you think logically you will because people have a certain amount of money to spend. If they're spending 25% more on gas or something like that, then that's going to come out of other spending. But we don't see it yet.
One last thing. You mentioned those economies in Southeast Asia that are particularly dependent on petroleum. They make a lot of the stuff that American consumers buy. So was there any discussion today about whether or not those costs getting passed along to consumers is a real concern, and whether or not that might push up inflation?
So all of those things are in the models that we use to calculate inflation. So they're just parts. You can ask about anything like that, and they have a place. The staff has a place where they're looking at that and pricing in what will happen with higher prices and that kind of thing. So it's there. The effects are not that big yet. We're a huge economy. The import sector is only 10% of the economy, so we're not like a European country where 50% of the external of GDP is in the external sector. We're also, as I mentioned, we're an oil exporter, so we're not feeling the same kind of pain, and we're not likely to feel the same kind of pain that economies in Western Europe and certainly in Asia are feeling. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. I won't see you next time.
What a boy. He's done. That's it. Bye-bye, Jerome. What a guy. He's not going. It's actually fascinating what he's actually doing because he's actually staying active. The guy wants to retire. The guy was literally saying then, just let me retire. But unfortunately for him, he can't retire now until Trump retires because he has to maintain his seat on the board. So let me just go through some of the notes that we took for that. So Powell is staying on the board as a governor to vote against the group of other governors that will want to push Trump's agenda in the Fed. Trump is appointing Kevin Warsh, and he's been tickling his bumhole. Since Trump has been fellatioing Mr. Warsh, allegedly, he's currying some favor with these people, and he wants to get things passed. The main thing that Trump wants to happen is print cash, copious amounts of cash, print all the cash, and he's not going to get it, which is another reason for bear market. It's just not going to happen. There's no way on earth that with Jerome Powell as part of the Federal Reserve, that for the next 2 years, there will be anything but mediocreness. Because the guy has always acted in the best interest of the people. And it's in the best interest of the people that Bitcoin doesn't just rally to the moon. It's in the best interest of the people that prices don't just escalate. And so they're not going to print. It's not in the best interest of people. They think it is, and Trump will tell everybody, and all these dumb Americans will listen to him, and they'll go, "Oh, we need to print money because," and then the because part they never actually figure that out because Trump said so. Great, yeah, fucking genius, absolute genius. That's the way of the world, unfortunately, where there's no IQ test before you can vote, and there's also no. It doesn't necessarily need an IQ test, but more of like an understanding test. Do you actually understand policy? If you don't understand policy, should you have the right to vote? Interesting question. There are many dictators throughout history that have said, no, you don't deserve the right to vote. I'm talking about democracy with the qualification to vote. I think it's an interesting proposition. Something else that's pretty interesting that I would be pretty aware of at the moment is this. So this is World Liberty Financial. It is crashing pretty badly. Rumor is it's insolvent. So, and that's why they rugged it. And the thing is, when you start one of these spirals, it doesn't stop. So it could be that WLFI, next time you see it's gone up a fair bit, it'll be another big sell-off. This is basically just the giant Trump extraction. Trump has got one mission now for the next couple of years, and that is cash on top of you. Anyway, his job is to make sure that he makes as much money off you as possible. And so now, Trump is getting his own Fed chair. He thinks he'll be able to do that, but he won't. So he'll keep dumping WLFI because that's how they make loads of money. Something else that happened the other day that everyone was getting all excited about, and I just said, look, just calm down. Come on. MicroStrategy is one of the biggest Ponzi schemes on earth, if not the biggest Ponzi scheme on earth. Assuming we have to go through disclosure, and you would have to prove that you're not a Ponzi scheme. You can't do that because by definition of a Ponzi scheme, it is a Ponzi scheme. There's also the thing that makes it the triple Ponzi, which is STRC. This one. So they made this other company, and I don't know how much you all know about this, but I'll explain a little bit about it. They made this other company. This other company is called Strategy Inc. And Strategy Inc., they made this stock, got it listed on NASDAQ, and basically, does this look like a Luna or a USDT? Or does it look like USDT from 2015, 16, 17? It looks like that. It looks like USDT from 2015, 16, 17. It looks like Luna from 2023. It looks questionable at the best. It looks like an algorithmic stablecoin, which is effectively what it is. And it will go bust. It will happen. Because they will have to pay out in MicroStrategy shares. And that'll cause, eventually, the price of it to continue going. I believe that could be how this cycle ends. It doesn't even pay me to say it because I really want this cancer out of our industry. I think it's genuinely very toxic, bad, and evil for one person to own 3% of the supply of Bitcoin. And it fundamentally undermines the fact that it's decentralized when someone can have so much centralized power over the value of it. And he sent you a link. Okay. You've sent me a link. He sent me a link. So, Strategy's $8.5 billion preferred stock option fuels a Bitcoin buying spree and a concentration risk debate. Oh, I didn't even know people was talking about this. That's crazy. I've been worried about this for ages. Why are you only worried about it now? Ad hoc news. Financier von Deutschland. I bet Crypto loves this website. Michael Saylor took the stage at Bitcoin Conference 2026 on Tuesday with a characteristically bold prediction. A supply shock is looming that could reshape the entire crypto. Like, this is their playbook. They tell you it will go up. They convince you to buy it, and then they dump on you. But the thing with Saylor is his strategy is completely flawed because he doesn't dump on you. He takes out loans against you. And that puts the risk back onto him because the guy's an idiot and he doesn't realize these gains. Instead, he borrows against his gains and just expects the line to go up forever. But MicroStrategy literally falls apart with 2 years in the negative. It can't survive for an extended period of time in the negative. The way that MicroStrategy, like, if we was to go 2 more years negative, well, that's what I mean. Not from a standing start, because we're already second year in the negative. But if you was to do 2 more years negative from now, or 2 more years flat from now, you would see a drop in liquidity in the crypto market. And that's where MicroStrategy get liquidated. They get liquidated to the point of the loss of liquidity. It's not the value. This is where people get it wrong. I've been doing my science. I've been doing my autism. I've been doing my maths. And MicroStrategy goes pop at the point whereby there just isn't liquidity in crypto. Like, you see this in every single bear market where the price goes down a bunch, people stop trading it, and that means the next dip down accelerates. Same as here. If we was to cover off, and I can give you an actual example of this. So here we go. So this, I want to bring it up to you, is the open interest history on Bitcoin. And I actually had it open on this tab before. This is on Binance, so it doesn't. You can't just apply this across the whole of the exchange. But the point to make here would be, at the moment, there is or rather, the very peak here, $43 billion. So this is the open interest on Bitcoin price throughout the past few years. Can we overlay a Bitcoin price chart over the top of this? I don't think we can. Let me find a different open interest. Open interest. I want to overlay the chart over the open interest. Coinalyze. Do you work? Maybe. Yeah, this is the one that I normally use. I don't know why I didn't have it on the screen before. Right, so this shows us open interest, and it's why we can be pretty confident that we're still kind of buggered. I've got to be better about not swearing on these streams as well. If we actually want to go viral and get a bunch of views, I've got to stop my potty mouth. You've got to impose some Islam on me, sir. Smite the hand of God, or whatever it would be.
Don't swear.
What, is God swearing?
No, you shouldn't swear.
Yes.
It's bad.
Yes, it's blasphemous.
No, it's not blasphemous. It's just bad.
It is blasphemous. I'll go to hell.
No, bad morals,
Because God will smite me and put me in hell.
Moving on.
Yep. It's a regular debate, is that one. Anyway, so my point being, peak of the run up here, $44 billion of open interest. Peak of the run here, $33 billion of open interest. Peak of the run here, $20 billion of open interest. Current, $23 billion of open interest. Price, similar to where we were back here. But since that period of time, we've gone from $42 billion to $23 billion. My point is, there's now only $20 billion of open interest. That's half of what there was before. If you had $100 billion of Bitcoin, you could previously have probably cashed out about $20 billion. At this point, your $100 billion is worth about, it's not 50% less, it's more like 40% less. So $100 billion was worth $60 billion, and you could probably only cash 10. Probably couldn't even cash 10, probably could only cash 5, to be fair. That's what I mean about the squeeze on liquidity. And it's at that point where that calculation doesn't make sense anymore. When the open interest drops below... what is MicroStrategy actually holding on to in terms of billions of dollars of Bitcoin right now? Let's have a quick look at that. MST tracker. Right. So, this is where it gets interesting, because these are metrics that people don't look at because people aren't mathematicians. And it's something that I actually kind of want to go back to university to learn and understand a little bit more. For the reason of that, because I keep thinking about this, I think that if I actually fully understood maths in relation to how prices move, and I went and did like some quant course at university, I think I'd slap. Like, we've already got we've got it down to what is effectively a $5,000 to $10,000 a day profit system is what we operate on at the moment. But I believe that we can get that to $100,000 a day in the next 5 years if I just went and increased the size of my brain again. So I think I need to do it. It might sting though, might that? But then I'm fancying university in Toronto. I really actually kind of fancy going to university in Toronto, so we'll see. I want to go buy a house in Toronto. I bought one here in Thailand. I bought 2 in Dubai. Speaking of Dubai property. I have been generally negative about the situation over there, but actually, I have renegotiated both of my rental properties. I have a tenant in both of them. Both of them accepted a 30% increase in the price of rent. The apartments that I bought were rent controlled from 2018. So this is the first time that they've had a rate hike on their rent. They went from paying on their rent, one of them was 65,000 dirham a year. I put it up to 95,000 dirham a year. They accepted 93,000 dirham a year. The other one, they currently pay 60,000 dirham a year. I'm asking 72, and they've accepted. So on that basis, the 1 bed has actually increased a lot less than the 2 bed in terms of its price. That's due to an increase in families in Dubai and also an increase in demand for space. The apartments that I bought are in Motor City. The interesting thing about this is basically between the 2 apartments, it yields about $2,500 a month. Too much information, but it's not too much. It's interesting. So it yields £2,500 pounds a month. Sorry, so it's yield £2,500 a month. I spent on the properties £500,000. I could have increased the price of the rent a little bit more and actually matched the neighbours, because the neighbours charge 120 for rent, and I charge 93. So I'm getting effectively 22,000 dirham less per year, which is about £5,000 less per year, which is about £450 per month less per property. But I have a tenant, which means that I'm earning 5% interest a year. And now my property is back to appreciating in price. Now they've stopped dropping bombs, so I don't think be too worried about Dubai. I think Dubai will be fine. I think it'll provide a lovely period of time for people that actually live in Dubai to have a really nice, safe, and fun time with way less people. Unless it's a free event, in which case it'll be absolutely jam-packed with a certain kind of person, which will definitely be there. No, they're not the free ones. The free ones are Indians. They have these giant mass gatherings of they did it. They opened up Dubai Water Park for free. It's not a slight. It's not a comment. It's not a jab. It's a fact. They opened up Dubai Water Park for free because of the bombings, and the whole place became like Mumbai, and it didn't take very long. And it's completely fine to say that because it's a fact. It's just they don't report news over there because it's illegal. So you can only go from boots on the ground, photos and evidences, which are illegal as well. You're not actually allowed to take. That's why before Johnny actually posts about Hormuz, he's actually got to leave. You can't do anything when you're there. Hell inside as fire. Oh, right. Hell inside as fire, not like you think is God great. God is great. I don't know what you're talking about. What was he saying?
I don't know. That's not English.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very bad.
I'm sat next to a Nigerian Muslim here, so I've got his blessings, and I've got God's blessing. He's told me that. He's promised me God has blessed me for this stream. And he's also promised me that God has blessed everybody watching this stream. And he's also promised me that God will bless you all with millions and millions of dollars over the course of the next year in your life if you just subscribe and drop a like on this stream, which I keep forgetting to tell you to do. I should remember more, but I'm completely out of practice at doing all of this. Please do drop a like on the stream. I would really appreciate it. Inshallah, yes, Web3 Spud, inshallah.
Check some of the links I sent.
And shalom.
Shalom, yeah. Take the links I sent, yeah. Trump is talking about aliens while...
Okay. Oh, fucking hell, you've sent me so many. Right, will you just start from the top here? This one?
Yeah, check that one.
That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see what that
So what's this about? We probably need to get you a microphone, to be honest. You're doing a lot of speaking. Introducing charity coins. This is my editor said you need to click on this and talk about it. Introducing charity coins, a much needed solution for charities and traders. Why? Why are we talking about this?
Because they might rug it.
Because they might rug it.
Pump fund, they're quite Jewish. You know?
Because Pump Fun is Jewish and they might rug it. That is why we're talking about this, according to my editor.
They're doing this to steal more money.
It is actually run by Jews, is Pump Fun. It is a Jewish organisation, to my understanding. I don't think that's like hearsay. I think that's an actual confirmed fact. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that just because someone is a Jew that they're bad. If they're a Zionist, different question. Yeah. He says stop talking about this now, so we'll stop talking about it now. But you all know, I'm a moderate. I just say things for a reaction from the comment section because otherwise you will never comment. Yeah, right. So back to business anyway. You send me useful things in future and not things that are related by your political ideologies.
Yeah, I'm not like.
Yeah.
This is Keir Starmer versus Nigel Farage. So there are two links right there. The next one is Keir Starmer.
Right. So next one is Keir Starmer. Do you keep sending me things about Jews? Stop it. No more. No, I don't care. No more things about Jews. This is the problem when you've got a Muslim in your house.
There was an attack in the UK.
Yeah, I know it's not relevant to crypto. Shut up. It's not our problem.
Okay.
Not my battle. Yeah. That one we save it for the second channel.
Now the next one is Powell says the Fed's independence that week, so I can highlight more about that one.
Right. Just shut up and stop telling me to do things. I'll go through it now. Jerome Powell says that the Fed's independence is at risk. Well, this is one of the things that he actually said, and we just watched that whole thing. So again, we just watched it. President Trump, reporter, the UAE pulled out of OPEC. What do you think about that, Trump? I think it's great. It's interesting. America isn't part of OPEC, to my understanding. But this does change one thing. So when they're not part of OPEC, they actually don't have to abide by literally really any rules. Being that they don't really have to abide by any rules, they get to make their own rules. That also includes which currency they get to trade oil in. So now the UAE is going to start courting China. They're going to court Russia, and they're going to court America. And that's how the UAE is going to end this crisis. They're going to get out of it by basically saying, who wants to do business with us? We'll trade your currency with our oil.
You dodged the bullet. Check that last message. Very big bullet you dodged.
What's it?
Shit.
What do you mean?
Click it, you see.
But if I click it, it'll bring it up on the stream.
Yeah, see. It's good. You that's one of the deals you declined.
Oh, that's interesting. So my team is now telling me that we got offered a lot of money to talk about this coin. And we did our due diligence, and apparently we said, no, it looks like a scam. Turns out it was a scam, and it's just rugged.
And it was listed on Kraken and KuCoin.
Yeah, and it was listed on Kraken and KuCoin. How the hell did we spot that? Why did we turn down that money? Guys, you did the wrong mistake there. You should have accepted the cash. It's a bear market, guys. Come on.
It was a scam.
Yeah, well, we could see it, I guess, and that's why they did it. That's what I mean. We have actual systems and processes here these days that'll protect you going into the next market. It's not just me that's looking after everybody these days. I have a team that looks after me to make sure that I don't mess it up for you, meaning that you won't mess up my life, because my life is great. So I need to make sure that everything continues to go well for everybody, and that means safeguarding procedures. I can't believe we saved that one. That's pretty wild. Look, I can even press this button, and it turns it into Twitter mode. Look at that. Sick. Look at, we're professionals again. We've figured it out. Look at me. But there is only 84 people watching at this point, so please do drop a like on the stream. It's been a good stream, to be fair. It's 2:45. Have the other earnings come out? Let's have a quick look on the other earnings. Which one was it coming out? We'll have a look at... they're not on that list there. Facebook. It's not called Facebook anymore. Meta, isn't it? Meta. Forex Factory. I don't know where he's gone. That's Kenton Troll.
Yeah,
that's Forex Factory.
No, this is not Forex Factory. This is the one I wanted to see. So they have all the earnings in front of it.
Yeah. Right. So they've not reported any earnings yet.
It's been an hour.
And what about this one? Have these guys reported? Some people have reported.
Switch the screen.
I mean, we can. Oh yeah, that's the problem. That's the part where you need to be in control of this.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is. The magic is you set up this machine with 30 different keys on it, and we come up with a bunch of different ways for different websites. So you make like a Yahoo key, you make a this key, you make a that key for each individual website, and then we can. He says, "Don't scold me on stream." We stopped scolding people in Nigeria many years ago. I often have this discussion with him. He says that English people was nice when we went over to Nigeria 200 years ago because we gave them money. There was a different kind of person that just decided to take things. They're the ones that are causing all the bother on earth. It's what he tells me anyway. It's like I'm getting propagandized here by he lives in my house at the moment. It's there in my ear all the time telling me things. So no thoughts about the market. I mean, Barros, what do you want me to say? Nothing happened. But that's not to say nothing will happen. I suppose you're rather than being a twat and saying so no thoughts about the market, say, Jordan, do you have any thoughts on the market? That would be way better, and you would get a much better reaction. And yes, Barros, yes, I have some thoughts on the market, and I will go through them now before we wrap up the stream. My thoughts are, I drew this line a few minutes ago, and I think it can still stand a pretty decent chance of making the way back up a little bit more into that range. Again, we're on the 1 minute chart here, but looking at that range there, I want to get into that range because that range there is this. So we need to be between these two levels. And then in that range there, well, you get your rejection back down out of it and you just repeat the pattern. It's unlikely that we make any kind of big major move right now until after earnings are reported by the big companies that are reporting their earnings today. Which is what my intention is to stay on for, but it's after the closing bell, isn't it? Is the closing bell in America?
I think it's 5 p.m.
Is that now?
No, the earnings come out 4 p.m.
And what time is it now?
Right now in the US, it should be 3 p.m. Like close to 3 p.m.
Yeah, we're not staying up till 4 a.m. to do earnings. Fuck that. No, we're going to end the stream here. I also, Pedro, you must understand it is it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So when you're firing me these questions,
Yeah. So
it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Earnings come out in 11 minutes.
Earnings come out in 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll stick around for that then.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll stick around for earnings if it's in 11 minutes. You need to engage the chat more and get them all cheering something to boost the algo. Right, everybody comment your favorite Middle Eastern country in the chat. That's a difficult one. What's my favorite Middle Eastern country? Probably Abu Dhabi. I like Abu Dhabi. It's nice. I enjoyed Abu Dhabi. Spent a fair bit of time in Abu Dhabi. It's like the peaceful place. I used to go there to get away from Dubai. And I've never been really anywhere else. My car's been to Oman. I haven't. Spud says Israel, but he would do. He was born into a very posh, very wealthy family. Huge inheritance. Big safety net. You know, all that stuff. He would like Israel. I grew up in West Yorkshire. I grew up around a different group of people. I didn't go to private school, so my school comprised a lot more of Pakistanis predominantly, Bangladeshis as well. Not that many of them, but 6 or 7% of the school at the time. It's probably more like 15 or 20% now. That's true. That's not even an exaggeration. Oh, 6, 7, yeah. Chad Moonmore says 1 like equals 1 fag. That's quite funny. Yeah, I mean, this is one of them streams we've got, fuck it, everyone's checking out anyway. I'm going to quit this stream. Earnings are going to happen. The market's going to go skits. So should we just stick this out?
Yeah, we have like 10 minutes left for earnings.
Yeah, but it's so depressing when the views drop down to 67. It's like, if it's triple, it's back up at 78 now. Yeah, we're sticking on. But I'm telling you, if the views drop below 70, I'm out.
We're back on. I'm not leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, let me go through a few more of these articles that you've prepared for me in the chat here. So, BlackBerry stock has been surging today. BlackBerry stock surges on expanded NVIDIA AI collaboration. BlackBerry Limited shares rose sharply, jumped 13.2% in Monday's session and added a 3.6% in aftermarket. That's pretty interesting. All because of the mention of AI. That's the US.
They're currently handling the security layer for physical AI.
So BlackBerry is currently handling the physical layer.
The security level.
The security level for physical AI.
Yes.
So they're gonna make BlackBerry the company into like an AI device company.
Exactly.
So so this is kind of like a play with, is it called the Rabbit? You know, that personal AI device thing? What's it called, that thing?
Yes, Rabbit One.
Yeah, it was something one. Yeah,
orange box.
yeah, it's an orange box and it spins around. So they're gonna make the BlackBerry into a specific AI. That's a cool thing. I would buy an AI BlackBerry just to own an AI BlackBerry. So BlackBerry, I wanted to have a look at the stock price. BlackBerry. BB. So it's up 4.7% today.
BB.
I mean, I could definitely get behind buying some BlackBerry stock. Like, I imagine it used to be a lot higher. You remember we all had BlackBerry? I mean, I had a BlackBerry Bold because I've always been good with money and I've been good at saving in my life. The poor ones at school had BlackBerry Curves, but I always had a job, always had a bit of income. I could afford myself a BlackBerry Bold, and that was my phone of choice. And actually, the BlackBerry Bold is the reason why my knee has got no feeling in it and it doesn't work correctly. Because I bought myself a BlackBerry Bold when I was younger and I was cycling with no hands and I fell off the bike and then I fell on the floor. When I fell on the floor, I damaged my knee because I was texting with no hands. The picture of a BlackBerry Bold. You want a picture of a BlackBerry Bold? BlackBerry Bold, just so you can picture it. A BlackBerry Bold was this one. So it wasn't the Curve. The BlackBerry Bold was the one with like a carbon fiber back to it. It was actually a sick phone. I actually loved that phone. Problem was I cracked my screen when I fell off my bike. And so I cracked my screen. I didn't want to tell my parents. I'd literally gone out and bought this phone. The next day I'd smashed the screen on it. I didn't have enough money to replace the screen. I could barely afford the phone. So I didn't tell anyone that I'd fallen off my bike and didn't tell anyone that I'd hurt my knee. Then Matthew Kennedy at school, who sometimes watches the channel, sometimes doesn't, sometimes watches my Instagram. But Matthew Kennedy, and I'll never fully forgive him for this because he's never apologized for it because he's a bit of a knob. He would kick my leg every day at school for a period of like 2 months, and he would bully me and kick my leg. And basically, I think it caused a lot of swelling and damage inside my leg, and I lost basically all feeling in my knee. And now these days, that leg gets injured so easily. It's like it's even smaller than the other one. Like I've got like a smaller leg and a bigger leg. They're not like vastly different in size, but it's noticeable when you go side by side. It's like one just looks like weaker than the other, and it's all because Matthew Kennedy, the knobhead, would kick my leg. And the worst thing was my parents met him at some point. They were like, "Oh, you met Matthew Kennedy? He's such a nice guy." I was like, "That's the knob that fucking disabled me, the cunt. I don't like him. He's a knob." And because he's never apologized. There was one thing that I did to get back at him, which he doesn't know about, which I pissed in his bag at school. I just peed in it because he was such a knob. Like, you can't just make me disabled, man. I have to get my own back. So I just peed in his bag. What else am I going to do? And I robbed his diary. And you had to buy a new. If you didn't have a diary, you got detention. So you got detention. I stole his diary and I peed in his bag. And he doesn't know that to this day. So maybe he does. The thing at school back then was Tipexing things, wasn't it? It was dumping Tipex into people's diaries at school, and then they had to buy a new diary and a diary was what, £7 back then. It seemed like a lot of money to a child. But again, these are things that children do. Thing is, you kicked my leg a lot. Like, what did you expect? But to this day, I have got injuries from that. I peed in your bag. You could get over it. You never even knew. There was just something for me. But I am now permanently disabled because of your actions. Ethereum? What about it? Don't tell me, oh, it's moving a tiny little bit. What? Yeah?
Yeah, that's the point of like altcoins.
Stop interjecting streams. It's my stream, not yours. You want your own YouTube channel, go make one.
I'm sorry.
Right. Smaller third leg, the story is out now. I mean, he wasn't kicking that leg. That leg's fine. That leg's very functional. But yeah. Do you reckon we'll leave this stream up or not?
Yeah, we have like 3 minutes to end.
Can we use YouTube to cut it?
Cut it?
Yeah, I mean, we spent the first half an hour of the stream sorting the audio, and I've spent the last half an hour of the stream abusing people from my past. Like, I feel like we should trim the stream at both sides. not not peeing in a bag, peeing in a bag. His school bag, I peed in it. It was not much of a pee. I don't like filling up his bag, but like a little bit of a trickle in his bag just to get back at him for disabling me. I think he's fair. To be honest, even if I saw him now, I'd still try and pee on him. Look, it's 3 a.m. What do you expect me to be saying? We're waiting 2 more minutes for earnings to come out, and then I'm off. But we want to see what happens to the price, because the price will do this. In theory, if when earnings come out, and it should do this. Kind of looks like it'll run to the upside and then do a big dump down. Who had a diary? Woot? No, at school you had to have these diaries, and it was for planners. You called it a planner diary, whatever you called it. But you had a planner diary thing. And you would plan out your, you got homework and that, you put it in your diary so you don't forget your homework, and you check your diary every day. That's just what we had at school. That was our system. And the other annoying thing about that, actually, was Matthew Kennedy again. And I remember this because I've still got his diary, one of his diaries, under my bed, in my bedroom back home, at my parents' house. I've still got it. Unless my parents have thrown it away, but I'm pretty sure I've still got it. I've got my diaries as well, but I've still got one of his, because I never fully got over that. So every year, I'm pretty sure I would steal his diary. I've got a fair few of Matthew Kennedy's diary. It was Jonas as well, but I preferred Jonas to Matthew. I always preferred Jonas to Matthew because Jonas was a friend who was actually nice, but Matthew was always like, he was just aggy, just an aggy guy. Never really liked the fella. Just because he always had like this complex where he thought he was smarter and more cleverer than me. But ultimately, look who's had a more successful life to this date and probably going forward. So who won? That's the way I view things. You make your own bed, and if you're gonna kick some child's knee just because he's fallen off his bike and won't tell his parents that he smashed his phone screen, I think it's a bit rude. Right, the prices are moving up now anyway. Earnings have probably been declared. In a second.
Any minute now.
They're coming. I wonder how long that website will take to update. Do you reckon it'll be instant? It should be instant. It's Yahoo.
Yeah, it's Yahoo. Yeah.
It should be instant. There we go. The number is... All right. If it's me, in 3, 2, 1, we're betting the price goes down. I mean, we could make it interesting by adding to this one, but I don't see the point. It's in quite a good profit, to be fair. $283 off of a $200 trade is not so bad. But yeah, I'd be betting down. Like, without the upside, I'm going down. Down now. Down. But of course, if you're about to go to bed, don't just open a trade. That seems a bit stupid. Don't just open a trade before you go to bed. Don't generally trade around bedtime. It can have, like, speaking from experience, the best time of day to trade is the UK middle of the day. UK middle of the day between the hours of about 11 a.m. just before US Open up to about 3 p.m. after US Open. By far the best time of the day to trade. By far the best time of the day to make an accurate prediction on something. Because you'll get volume, you'll get liquidity, and you'll be able to cash things. And also because volume and liquidity is higher, slippage is, or rather, the way that I've been trading, it would be less. Yes, and if you want to learn how to trade, and you've made it this far into the stream, we used to offer a service called Premium at Crypto Saving Expert, but we don't offer that service anymore. We've cancelled Premium. Premium no longer exists. It was a very loss-making activity. On each subscription, we estimate to have lost about £7,500 per subscription. So if you subscribed with us for 2 years, congratulations. I effectively paid £15,000 to educate you. The system has changed. We now run something called the Inner Circle. And there is a link at the top of today's video description that will also get posted in the chat right now by me. Oh, look, his price is just jumping upwards. But we're doing, there we go. Maybe this is the earnings candle. There we go. This is a big candle. But we're doing basically one-to-one training intuition. I'm one of the coaches for this. I'm not going to be the main coach, but if you want access to me, you can get access to me this way. If you ever wanted to pitch me an idea, tell me about something, this is your opportunity. I don't intend on running this forever. I don't intend on taking part in it forever. I want the program to run forever. But I hope that the guys over time can take it over when people really understand the value in it. We have helped many people so far, 3 in total, gain complete confidence and the ability to trade profitably, consistently, on their own, without prompt. I believe that I can achieve that for every single person watching right now. If you've ever wanted to learn trading from me, the top link in the video description is for the Insider, TMG Insider. Can you post a link in the group?
Yeah, in a circle, yeah.
Post it in the thing, in the chat. But if you join it, basically, it's a start to finish boot camp. It lasts 12 weeks. There is a shitload of modules that we'll send to you that you can do on your own, but you also have a training coach and a point of contact to bounce ideas off of and also take lessons from. You can also take lessons directly with me. But if you wanted that, you fill in the form that is linked in the chat right there, that type form, fill in that form, and tomorrow one of our guys will get in contact with you and they will let you know all the details and how you can get access to it. It's something that we're running for a short period of time. I don't know for how long. It's really until I don't want to do it anymore. And so it depends on how long I want to do it, I guess. And that's what I mean for me. So if you want, you will definitely, if you sign up at the moment, definitely get access to me. And you'll also get access to all of the other people. But I can't guarantee that if you was to sign up for the same thing in 3 months' time. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, we've only got 30 spaces. It's all bollocks, that. You see it on the internet, it's bollocks. We've got as many spaces as what we can afford to give, which is, look, we're not nowhere near close to capacity, and anyone that claims when they're doing this shit that they are is a liar. But if you ever wanted to come and learn from us, please fill in the form. We'll get in contact with you. We won't give you a sales pitch. We'll just tell you what's involved, how it works, what we aim to achieve, and how we aim to go about that. And we can send you all the information. Just fill in the form. Thank you, Chad Moonmore, for signing up. So it's now an inner circle. Yeah, that's what the guys called it. I didn't call it that. They called it TMG's inner circle. But I guess they call it that because they are part of my inner circle. If you think about, well, what would you typically describe as an inner circle? Well, it's a group of people that all operate to make cash. And that's what my circle of people does. We all just bounce off each other and try and stack as much cash as we possibly can. Sometimes we're successful at it, other times we're not. But we're predominantly, look, it's doing literally exactly what I said it was going to do as well. With the thing that I drew earlier, that was absolutely bang on.
Yeah, I sent you the link for the earnings report. So it's right there.
Okay.
In the chat.
So, earnings report came out today. So, yeah, anyway, fill in the link. But earnings report, Amazon Q1, net sales, 181.452. So, they came in over on sales. They came in over on income. So, what does that mean? That's so interesting. So, sales came, rather, all of it came in positive on all of the top Mag 7. You know what it is? I can tell you what this is. This is OpenAI promising and them reporting it as income when it's not real income. That's what it is. It's writing down numbers that you've received on paper but haven't received in actuality. This market will correct very bad at some point. It is of great concern. But yeah, I just want to point out, like, for people that some of you guys as well, you've got to understand these opportunities. I'm not your typical Forex salesman. I am busy. I have a job in that I spend my life stacking up piles of money to buy houses. And I want to help people, but I don't always want to help people. I like my life being quite chill. So at the moment, life has been chill for a period of 6 months, and I'm ready for it not to be chill for a while. That's why I say, like, I'm not doing it forever. So if you want to do it, fill in the form, do it. I'll be one of the coaches. I won't be your only coach. You will get to meet the other people. I'll just be part of it, and you can request me. You will get the ability to book on my calendar, and I will turn up for those calls. I can also tell you that with confidence, and this is why I'm pushing it now, is I'm in Thailand for a couple more months, but then summer happens, and I know what I'm like. I like racing cars, I like sunshine, I like holidays, I like boats. None of that is work, which is why we're going to put in all the work now, because I don't have time to do all of that work and training in summer. I have to balance it, which means that I've got time for the training now, and that's because I'm working, but I don't have time for the training when the work stops, or rather when the work continues and the holiday starts. Because I also want to go to Monaco in summer this year. Yeah, for a weird reason, actually. I'm a knobbit. I want to go live in Monaco. I actually do want to go live in Monaco. I want a European tax base, and I need to understand it more, which means I need to go spend some time in Monaco. I want to have the ability to commute to England, but I can't own land in England to be a tax dodger, and I don't have to live in Monaco, but I can't live in France for the reason of tax. So, and I can own property in France, but apparently it's too difficult, and it's much easier to just buy an apartment in Monaco. And I've been looking on the internet, and you can get an apartment for a couple million euros, but they're not very nice. And it looks like I need to spend about 6 million euros before I can like buy a nice apartment in Monaco. And I'm like, Christ, this is terrible. So it's not top of the list, but it's far from top of the list. But it's something that I want to understand it this year so that I can work towards it. Because you all have to have goals. And although I could go and achieve all my goals right now, it doesn't give me anything to work towards.
Look up property in Monaco.
Look up property in Monaco?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like
okay. Okay.
Instead of like just talking about it.
Okay. Yeah, but the thing is, we when we do these things, I would ordinarily be doing this. It's just it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I told you I passed that threshold.
Right.
So I'm still awake.
Yeah. So like what's that? 22 million euros for 309 square meters and 5 rooms, and it looks like crap. This is the problem with Monaco. This is literally the problem with Monaco because it's the only place that French can go to dodge taxes. And I look at this stuff. There you go, 2.6 million. That's more like what I can actually afford. But it's 40 square meters for 2.6 million euro. 40 square meters. My current house is on over 1,000 square meters, and this is on 40. I paid about £1 million for my current house here in Thailand. And I have over 1,000 of those meters. And they get 40 for 2.6, and I get to dodge tax out here. The reason I want to go here is because it's in Europe, yeah. And I just feel like it would be a cool place to like aim towards in the future. But I don't want to buy something that's 2.6 million euros because I want to buy something that's nice. And that means I've got to get to work and I've got to earn some money, which means we're fully focused on the job in hand because I don't have enough money. I'm doing well, but I'm not well enough to go and drop 6 million euros on a nice house in Monaco. I could do it, but I wouldn't be as comfortable as what I am. So instead, I'm going the first property, the next one to buy is in Toronto. So today I can show you some of the stuff that I'm looking at, so you can kind of get a gauge on what does someone in this position do. I think it's interesting. Toronto property for sale. We're not looking at house in England. There's too many. I just literally will go on here to show some pretty cool. What the hell? Oh, Toronto, New South Wales, Canada. It's because I'm using an Australian VPN. Toronto, Canada, Zillow. There we go. So, and I can give you a quick explainer on this anyway. So, I want to get an apartment for sale, property type apartment, because it needs to be a lock and key job, so there's no maintenance, and it needs a property management company involved in it. I want to spend about like my budget 'cause it's in Canadian is $1 million to about $1.4 million, and then the one that I was quite liking, is it near Yonge Street or whatever you would call it? My point being here, for what you get for the money, honestly, there's some sick places. There's some really, really, really lovely apartments here. And Toronto is nothing's loading. That one's a cool one. Please load, because the photos are really cool. Here we go. Yeah. So, like, the views that you get in Toronto is some of the best views, and I really like it. When I go to Toronto, when you stay in these places and you got these amazing views, it's just the color of the sky in Toronto is so nice. I could highly recommend it. And so for this is something that I actually want. I want something like this. So for something like this is costing how much money? 1 million. So this is in English, only £500,000. It is not that much money. It's a 3-bed, 2-bathroom apartment on like the 40th floor in a building, right next to the Rogers Centre, which is gonna be where they play all of the games. Is it Rogers Centre is hockey? Rogers Centre is hockey. Yeah, it's an indoor place. It's hockey's.
That price is good.
Yeah, it's 3-bed right next to the Rogers Centre. It's pretty sick. What thing is as well, Canadians always complain about how expensive their property is. It is cheap, and you get to live near the CN Tower, and CN Tower is one of the coolest buildings on earth. Look at that thing. It's amazing. He says he always tells me all the time. It's like you always forget you're in a different tax bracket. But I look at stuff like this, and I think $1 million for something like this is honestly, everybody should aim to get to the point in their life. $1 million Canadian is only £500,000. At some point in your life, you've got to be at the point where you can just drop £500,000 on a house because you kind of fancied the house and it was pretty cool. You've got to be able to put yourself. And so for me, look at me in my position. Yeah, I now own 3 houses, or rather 2 apartments, 1 house. I want to buy another apartment. And my goal is just buy 1 apartment every year. Make enough money to buy 1 apartment every year. We don't need to be crazy at it. And I'm sure I will significantly outperform the ability to buy 1 apartment every year. I already do significantly outperform that.
2 apartments every year.
No, I think that. I mean, look at since August of last year, I've bought 3 properties.
Yeah. So it's just work.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah. It's just love what you do, and it's not work. And then money becomes very easy to obtain. And if you're ever wondering, like, really cool areas of Toronto to visit, you ever like, wow, where do I go in Toronto? There is a place up here called Krusty Pits Park. I spend a lot of time when I'm in Toronto at Krusty Pits Park. It's not actually called Krusty Pits. It's called Christie Pits. Like Linford Christie Pits. It's a really nice park. It's near Koreatown. I'd highly recommend it. For whatever reason, this is just not wanting to load correctly. But it's one of my favorite places on earth is Toronto. So I'm going to go buy a house in Toronto next. Then when I've got one in Toronto, then it becomes a toss-up of the UK again versus, I don't know. LA. I've always looked at LA, but I think with Los Angeles, I worry that it's just not for the.
Too many crackheads.
Yeah, when I've been there, I mean, it's really more than anything, it's the government. I say a lot of things on the internet, and I might not even mean what I say, but the current administration is so much of a snowflake, absolute snowflakes in charge at the moment that get butthurt at everything. Authoritarian snowflakes, Donald Trump and his administration, they will just put me in prison when I land, is my fear, for speaking. So I believe that while there is no freedom of speech in the US under the current administration, I just can't imagine myself buying a house there. And so from that perspective, I figure, why bother going? It's not that great of a country. It's nice as America, and it's fun to go, but yeah, I feel like it's not safe from the perspective of a foreign big mouth idiot off the internet going into the country and them going, "Can I see your phone, please? I heard you posted the video about me," and I go, "Oh, looks like I'm getting deported."
If someone says buy in Wales, you can buy a castle.
Buy in Wales, you can have your own castle. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to buy in Wales. I don't want my own castle. That was another one. I might want to build something back home. So the other idea I have is buying land, but we have a Labour government. With a Labour government, you can't build on Greenbelt. You need the other ones for that.
Anyone has land in chat to sell.
Yeah, anyone got any land that's not Greenbelt? Ping me. I'm interested. I genuinely, I'm looking for land. I want specifically land in the West Yorkshire, or preferably North Yorkshire. To be honest, it is much nicer. So land in the North Yorkshire area, 2 or 3 acres of land that I can. What I want to do is I want to put a house in the middle of some land, and then I want to put a forest around the house. I saw something a few weeks ago. I wonder if I can find it. Building a forest around house. So it was like this. But the idea is a sick idea. Think about this. You live in a forest and your house is surrounded. You buy a field, you build a house in the field, you build a forest around the house so no one can see in. You got complete privacy. But don't build, that's a crap little forest, is that one. There was one that I saw in America where someone had bought like 1 hectare of land and they had basically just planted like 70 billion trees around it and just put a house in the middle of it all. And I thought, that's amazing. You've literally built like you could pick the type of tree. So out here in Thailand, I could do it, and I could do it with a rubber plantation. I could plant a rubber plantation in a bunch of land and build a house in the middle of it. I'm looking at all these as different ideas. But the core thing that I'm doing here that is different than what I've done in every single bull bear cycle is I'm actually focusing on Bitcoin. I'm not focused on these things. These are just these fluttering ideas that come through my mind. And I inevitably will probably not do many of them. The ones that I will do are Toronto. I'll buy a house there and I will buy some land. It's just it'll take time. And I'm not interested in just deploying immediately. I'm interested in going, seeing some things, understanding the market, like what I did here in Thailand. For Thailand, I was coming here for 2.5 years before I actually bought a house. I know I say I bought everything in the past like 6 months since August or whatever it was last year, but I actually was coming here for a long time before I bought the house. And I'd been to see about 200 different properties here in Thailand before I bought this house. He's going to ping me another link now.
Oh, no, not the link. Someone in chat said the US war has cost them $25 billion so far.
Oh, the Iran war has cost the US $25 billion so far, by the way. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, huge number.
How much is $25 billion in real terms for the US? I can show you. US debt clock. So you ever go to this website, you ever want to go to the US debt clock, type it in US debt clock, it brings up this website here. So the US debt clock shows you how quickly national debt increases. So you can see that basically 1, 2, 3. So about every 2.5 seconds, the national debt in the US is going up by about $100,000 every 2 seconds. So if it's cost them 25 billion, that is actually a number. That is a number. US total debt is 107. So this war has increased their national debt by 0.00025%. It really changed the planet. You know what's hilarious is it might have cost them 25 billion, which might be nothing to them, but the damage to the economy is in the trillions. So, you know, these politicians, they're just geniuses, absolute geniuses. So if it cost them 25 billion so far, yeah, it's crazy, but it's a fun website. Is this? If you have never actually looked at it, I'm pretty sure they have a phone app as well. If you ever wanted to have like a weird phone app, what is that? Open, close, secret window. Money, Fed note, the bank. What does this do? What happens if we press that? Did it take us to a Twitter? The US debt clock on Twitter. All right, sure, I'll follow you. By the way, if you ever wanted to get a follow off me on Twitter, I'd recommend following me on Twitter. I'll drop a link for my Twitter in the chat. But guys, earnings have come out. It's 3:22 in the morning. I'm done. I'm going to go away now. And I'm going to make a stream schedule. Please turn on your channel notifications so that when I go live again, you do get notified about it. And I'm going to start really trying again. So, and this time around, I'm actually pretty prepared to put in a stint. I've paid a lot of money for him to get here. So now he's here. We're doing work. I think I need to take him to the beach at some point, though. In all fairness, I've taken him to the beach one time, and he has been here nearly 2 weeks. So I probably should take him to the beach at some point. But other than that, we've been smashing out the work and really trying our hardest. So I hope that shows, and I hope that comes across, and I hope you all appreciate the streams and everything. I really appreciate you all coming, and I hope you're all... Is it Isle of Man TT this week? I've been seeing a fair bit about it. I think if it's not this week, you're all getting a bit frothy about it, so it must be soon. But yeah, I'll probably see you tomorrow. I'm going to turn on the computer tomorrow. We're going to set it up in the morning, and then my morning, your midnight, and then I might stream UK morning tomorrow. We'll see. I need to work out a time that works. So drop a like, subscribe. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask. Do drop a like and do subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And good night. If you move to Toronto, let us know. We could meet. I got buddies in Hamilton. That's cool. I mean, I go to Toronto all the time. It's literally my probably favorite city on earth. London's my favorite city on earth. London is the best city on earth, and then Toronto is the second best city on earth. It's just if I go to London,